Sound to your mind.
Breathe. I stay quiet as I light on my loud light. Breathe. I balance diet, I'm just trying to get my pounds right. Breathe. I stay quiet as I light on my loud light. Breathe. I balance diet, I'm just trying to get my pounds right. Shouts all on my team, I need more than a mattress support in my dreams. Could grab a few Z's like I'm falling asleep, but I don't wanna wake for the morning grief. Breathe. Tears drop to the form in the sea. A broke heart, but it's worn in my sleeve. Never listened, I was warned in my teens, but I still skipped school, I was taught in the streets. Ring back, don't call for police. Stand tall, don't fall for the beast. Got issues with trust, so I'm born to believe. We've been a victim of love and now we're caught in it deep. Breathe.
Yes, what's happening, people? And welcome back to Gav Goes In. Big up to everyone coming through. Big up to Babs One Diva each and every time. Big up to Christopher McGrath as well. Big up yourselves. Hope everyone's doing well. Big up to my guy Fitz each and every time coming through. Says good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all well. Yeah, bro. All good, man. All good. Obviously, it wasn't on yesterday. Obviously, I was a bit busy yesterday, but I did manage to catch up on, a bit of the news surrounding Manchester United. And obviously back today. We'll be probably back later tonight. I'm not sure yet, but as always, keep an eye on the notification to see when I go live, and definitely back tomorrow with a good stream tomorrow. I'm looking forward to the stream tomorrow. I'm going to be back midday again, probably about 12:30. And again, yeah, keep an eye on notifications to see what we're going to be discussing tomorrow. Big up to Reluctant Gamer as well. Big up, man. Big up yourself. Was that the Man United game he's saying? Yeah, listen. Boy, you know what it is, yeah? I purposely haven't spoken about the game against Newcastle because I wanted to kind of, just give a bit of a break from it, because, as usual, we was always going to get people just chatting their usual rubbish, really. But yeah, we will definitely get into that. Obviously, there's a few other stuff I want to get into as well. Big up to I Am Titanium as well. Says big up, Gav. Big up yourself. And big up to Foxy Danny as well. Big up yourselves. Guys, as always, make sure you are smashing the like button when you come through. Obviously, help the channel to grow. And make sure you guys sub to the channel if you're new in here. And make sure you share the channel on all your social media platforms as well. So yeah, it would be much appreciated. But yeah, listen, we are going to get into it. As I said, I think from what I've seen over the last couple of days, yeah, I mean, it was to be expected, unfortunately, because I think Michael Carrick coming in so far has done a very good job, but a lot of fans were waiting for this loss to happen, and just so they can be proven right, in my opinion, because the fact that we've had to be putting up with Ruben Amorim, for about, a year, and we was getting beat every week, when Carrick lost that game to Newcastle. And again, let's not get away from it, losing to Newcastle after they were down to 10 men isn't a good result, but someone like Carrick, you can give him some slack because the guy had he was unbeaten, obviously, in 10 games over 2 spells. He was unbeaten since he came in, and obviously he suffered the first loss against Newcastle on Wednesday. Now, I did say, that the Newcastle game, for me, I couldn't see us winning that game. And not because we wasn't capable, but because Newcastle away is never going to be an easy game. You'd probably say the fact that we were playing against 10 men, for the majority of the game, we probably should have at least, come away with something, But again, the finish from that, was it Will Osula? You can't really say too much, That's a finish that probably would have beaten any keeper, and it was a great finish. Yeah, you can be a bit critical of the defending. I'm seeing people get on to Tyrell Malacia. Again, the Malacia hate is it's low for me, really, because Malacia hasn't played any football, really, and he's just an easy scapegoat. That's all it is, you know. Am I going to blame Malacia? Yeah, maybe he could have defended better, you know, maybe show him on the outside. Obviously, when you show players on the outside, they're going away from goal. The fact that he showed him on his inside, I don't believe that Malacia thought that Asula could have hit that shot from there on his weaker foot. You know, Harry Maguire could have come across a bit quicker as well. But on the whole, as I said, you can't really blame too much of you know, of anyone. It was a very good strike. Lamens had no chance as well. So the fact that went in, you know, these things happen. But am I going to sit here and start saying that, you know, Carrick's now in question? Yeah, Man United haven't played well over the last couple of games. We know that. But again, you know, I still think people are going overboard. And again, people going overboard is because I think a lot of fans are just desperate to be proven right with Ruben Amorim. The facts are Ruben Amorim was an absolute disgrace in the end for Manchester United, and he should have went a lot earlier. But people coming on there, people saying in general that Carrick now is under pressure, you know, he shouldn't be given a job, etc. Again, after one loss, like, it doesn't make any sense to me, you know. As I said, there were a few things that Carrick could have done better, you know, which we are going to touch on now anyway. And let's talk about Bryan Mbuemo. Now, the Mbuemo one, yeah, I hate to say that I'm not surprised Bryan Mbuemo's getting criticism now, you know. Did I want Bryan Mbuemo in the first place? I didn't. You know, I'll be honest. You know, I was always of the opinion that when Man United were looking at, you know, left-footed right winger, I initially wanted Mohamed Kudus from what was available. You know, I wanted Kudus before. I'm pretty sure there was someone else. Even Yankuba Minte, I was even saying as well. But again, the Mbuemo one was an obvious one purely because of what he was doing at Brentford. You know, scoring goals in that front three with Schade and Johan Visser. And again, it wasn't surprised that United went for him, because going for him and Cunha, you know, again, another player that wasn't the first choice. You know, I wanted Florian Wirtz or Eze. But again, when we got both of them in, it was definitely a positive in terms of goals that these guys were scoring for their previous teams. Yeah. The thing with Bryan Mbuemo, yeah, and this is what I'm trying to say, and this is very similar to what Ten Hag was doing with Garnacho, Rashford, Rasmus Højlund as well, and having Bruno Fernandes playing in that 10. Yeah. There's people saying now, and guys, keep your questions and comments coming through. I will definitely get back to them as well. There's people now saying, yeah, that, and I knew this would happen, that front four doesn't work. Yeah. And this is why it's about, when you've got an understanding in football, yeah, you be ahead of the curve in the sense of, you know, and again, I'm not blaming Michael Carrick, yeah, because Carrick's obviously come in, and Carrick's more looking at it as, you know, he's just trying to get results to try and put himself in good stead at the end of the season, whether it's him getting the job at Man United at the end of the season, or whether it's him getting another job, yeah. But the very fact that we saw a front four of, well, I say front four, we saw the front three, and then we saw Bruno in the 10. When you're going to play Bruno in the 10, Cunha from the left, and Mbuemo from the right, Benjamin Sesko as the striker, it's the same thing when you're going to play Bruno in the 10, Garnacho on the right, Rashford on the left, and Rasmus Højlund. Yeah, I don't think people deep here just how much that kind of combination doesn't work. And this is something that I've spoken about time and time again. Yeah, if you look at the front four that was played with Carrick, yeah, and again, I'm not going to get onto Carrick because Carrick, you know, as the kind of midfielder that he was, you know, he was a technical player, and you know, he does favor a lot of the technical players. But again, whether he's being forced into playing certain players because of the price tag, or whether it's a case where he's looking at getting players onto the pitch because, you know, they're a better chance of getting numbers. Yeah. In the long run, this ain't going to work. You know, that front four there of Cunha, Mbuemo, Bruno, and Sesko, you've got Bryan Mbuemo, really, and this is why I want to discuss Mbuemo, yeah? Mbuemo, if he's not getting goals, he's more or less useless. You know, I would say Mbuemo is more of an impact sub rather than a starter, you know, because the only thing that we're looking at Mbuemo for, yeah, is his goals. So if he's not getting goals, you know, his general play isn't of the level of a Manchester United player, which is obvious, you know, just like the front four that we had previously before that. Yeah. You look at Cunha, yeah. I keep saying to you guys, yeah, that Matthias Cunha, yeah, even though he was our best attacker against Newcastle, yeah, he's only truly going to thrive when Bruno Fernandes goes. And whether people like it or not, yeah, if we want to get the best out of Cunha, if we want to get the best out of Ahmad, if we want to get the best out of Zirkzee, the best out of Kobbie, unfortunately, Bruno has to go. It's that simple. You know, I've been saying this and I'll keep consistent, yeah. People do not deep how much of a hindrance Bruno Fernandes is to this team, yeah? Because people just want to talk about the fact that he gets numbers, yeah, and disregard, you know, the fact that he empties the midfield, he's ill-disciplined, he spams a lot. But because he gets, you know, an assist, or people say he creates chances, you know, it goes unnoticed, yeah? But the facts are, if you've got more players in your team that will thrive without this player being there, you have to look at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture for me, yeah, is that until you move a player like that on, why are we going to be looking at these players thriving with him there? Yeah. Not to mention you've got someone in Sesko, yeah. Sesko is very good in the air, but he's not a link player. Yeah. When I'm telling people that Joshua Zirkzee is a key player for Manchester United in terms of how he plays, people don't want to hear it because it's too easy to get onto Zirkzee because Zirkzee doesn't get numbers like the others. And you know, I'll keep saying the same thing, you know, until it hits people where they actually realize, yeah, Manchester United will be a better team with Joshua Zirkzee playing, because when you've got players that are either shoot first players or players that are just relying on numbers, you need someone that is going to knit it all together. Joshua Zirkzee does that. Yeah. Also, Amad Diallo. Amad Diallo, yeah, is one of our best players. People don't think Amad's as good as what they make it out to be. I keep telling you this, guys, as well, yeah. Amad Diallo is number 10. Yeah. We need to be getting Amad Diallo involved in the play a lot more. The fact that Carrick dropped Amad for Mbuemo, again, I want to give Carrick the benefit of the doubt because I'm looking at Carrick as him having that decision, yeah, and you know, him thinking, right, he's gonna play Mbuemo because Mbuemo gets goals in his eyes. But the fact that Mbuemo put in a stinker and missed that chance that, you know, everyone's talking about, let's see what Carrick does next game, because that will tell me if he's kind of learned from the mistake. Because when you've got, when you've got a front four like Mbuemo, Cunha, Sesko, and Bruno Fernandes, that's never going to work. Just like Garnacho, Højlund, Bruno, Rashford, because there's too many guys that are gung-ho players in the sense of, you know, they shoot first or they don't want to retain possession. When you've got a front four like that, it's never going to work. You need to be having equal amounts, or you need to be having the majority of your players that are possession based more than players that just want to shoot first, you know, or turn the ball over quickly. Sorry, that's the truth. So if you're going to play Sesko as the striker and you want to play, let's say, Cunha, yeah, or you want to play Mbuemo, the other player on the other side needs to be possession based, yeah. So my thing is, yeah, you have to play, if you want to play Cunha, who's a maverick, yeah, on the left hand side, let's say, it has to be Cunha and Ahmad, yeah, or you have to play Ahmad, Zirkzee, Cunha, Mbuemo, Zirkzee, Cunha, Ahmad in the 10, Mbuemo from the right, Cunha, Zirkzee. Or if you want to get the best out of Sesko, you might want to play players that are going to get the ball into the box, yeah. Even try a Bruno Fernandes as a right winger, because Bruno Fernandes likes to spam balls into the box. So even playing Bruno on the right and trying something different with playing Ahmad in the 10, playing Cunha in the 10. You know what I mean? These kind of things will work better for a Sesko, because if you're going to play a front four like that, Sesko's not going to get into the game. Yeah. And Mbuemo's not possession based anyway. So then you're just relying on Cunha to be the maverick or Bruno to spam balls into the box. And this is why I keep saying, yeah, the balance of that front line, you know, is off. And I keep telling you guys, yeah, Joshua Zirkzee doesn't get numbers like some of the other strikers in the game, yeah. But what Joshua Zirkzee will do is that he will nil it all together. And I do believe that Carrick does like Joshua Zirkzee. I do believe it. But Zirkzee's obviously been out injured. And obviously now he's having to just bide his time and trying to feel his way into the lineup. But playing that front four was never going to work. And it's the same thing I said under Ten Hag with what he was trying to do, you know. But just based on Mbuemo, yeah. Again, I was never a massive fan of Mbuemo. I was a fan of him at Brentford. But again, Brentford playing a slightly different way. And again, he was someone that, you know, did get numbers. He did. But coming to Manchester United is a different level, you know. And the fact that he's getting exposed for not really being a top footballer, you know, for me, you cannot be benching Amad Diallo to be playing Bryan Mbuemo because you believe he gets numbers. And again, going back to Carrick, you have to give Carrick the benefit of the doubt because, you know, Carrick's doing this because he's trying to more or less, you know, try and see what he can do at the end of the season in regards to his job. That's the truth. But that front four yesterday, that front four on Wednesday was horrible. You know, it was horrible. Again, Bruno Fernandes, you know, apart from like, because people, what they're going to do now with Bruno is say he created chances. Yeah. Go and watch that game. Just go and watch that game back, because his saving grace is going to be the fact that he's a free kick taker and he put the ball into the box for Casemiro to score. And then the fact that, you know, he did create some chances. He did. But his performance is going to go under the radar because people only want to talk up Bruno if he gets stats. But when Bruno's, you know, he's making the midfield struggle because he empties the midfield and he leaves them exposed, or whether he's quiet and doesn't have a good game, no one wants to go and talk about it because people are just trying to push a narrative out to make others believe that Bruno is this key player when he's not. He's a hindrance to this team, whether you like it or not. And as I said, I'm going to keep saying the same thing, you know. But for me, Bryan Mbuemo, as I said, Mbuemo for me now needs to spend time on the bench. I'm not even going to blame Mbuemo, yeah, for the chance he missed against Newcastle, because the one thing we know about Mbuemo is that he does get goals, yeah. But a chance like that, yeah, you could say that players could miss that easily, you know, because as we know, yeah, if he puts his head over the ball, you know, keeps his body forwards, you know, he probably gets it on target and scores, yeah. But just knowing Mbuemo, the kind of player that he is, yeah, he's not a composed sort of player. I would have expected Amad to score that more than Bruno, more than Mbuemo, because as I said, Amad has composure in his game. You know, he retains possession. So I'm not really going to get onto Mbuemo for missing that chance, you know. But what I will get onto Mbuemo for is his general play, because people don't care about general play anymore. They just care about the stats, what it says on the score sheet. That player's got an assist. That player's got a goal. And these things are never sustainable, because if you're not getting numbers, then we need to now see what your performance is saying. And there's too many players at Manchester United in the attacking part of the pitch that do that. There was calls for Sesko to be starting games. Now, I do believe that Sesko, you know, has been getting goals at the bench. He has been getting winners. But the problem is now, yeah, is that people now deem that because someone's scoring goals, they have a right to be starting. Football doesn't work like that, because you have to factor into it, yeah, that Sesko was getting goals off the bench because there's tired legs. You know, he's got physicality, he's got pace. So against tired legs, you know, there'll be more spaces opened up for him to score. The fact that he started the game and was nowhere in the game, yeah, just tells you everything, really. You know, he's playing up against Dan Burn, Malik Tior, yeah? Two guys that are physical and they want to try and rough you up. That isn't Sesko's game. So from now on, what does Carrick do? Does Carrick use Sesko as an impact sub? You know? Does he use him as impact sub? I think he should. I've always said Joshua Zirkzee should be starting games because Joshua Zirkzee has a lot more quality than Sesko as the striker. And he knits things together. You know, but again, these things are not really surprising. It's just that it takes people time to realize these. It don't take me time because, again, I watch the games. I understand it, yeah? And I always said that, you know, and I didn't believe Carrick would do this, yeah? Play a front four like that, just purely because of what Carrick, the kind of player that he was. But the very fact that he played that front four and it didn't work out, why are we even surprised? Why are we surprised? We shouldn't be surprised, you know? Let me go into your questions, guys, and see what some of you guys have put down. Make sure you're putting your questions in. Make sure you put your comments in. Let's see. Big Up Fitz says, we should have wrapped it up after that red, though. Again, just highlighted the lack of experience in Carrick because we have seen a loss coming recently. Now it's happened. I want to see how he reacts. But again, Fitz, what I would say, yeah, I don't really want to get onto Carrick too much because I don't understand how we can be on Carrick's case after we've suffered for so long with Ruben Amorim. You know, do I believe Carrick should be the manager next season? For me, I'm still not sure because I need to see who's available. You know, and I've always said this. But one thing that can't be underestimated, yeah, is the job that he's done since he's came into the club. You know, the fact that we've got one loss, and again, if players take their chances, we're probably sitting there talking about a win. But again, the way football works is that, you know, the fact that these fans were in love with Ruben Amorim, it was only a matter of time before Carrick starts getting criticism. And that's what's happening now. You know, so I don't really want to start saying about Carrick, his inexperience. Yeah, we can point to that fact, yeah. But for me personally, I'm not really going to put it on Carrick apart from the substitutes where he should have made them at halftime. You know, if you remember, I did say once Newcastle went down to 10 men, and this is what I got onto Ruben Amorim about, yeah? When you're playing against 10 men, you have to change the flow of the game. I would have definitely brought on Zirkzee at halftime and gone 2 up top to force Newcastle back. They're playing against 10 men and let them play in a counter. That's what should have happened. And the fact that he kept it the same until, when did he make the first change? I think, 60 minutes, something like that? That's the one thing that I didn't agree with. You know, you should always make a change, you know, as soon as the situation arises or presents itself, you know. But yeah, I'm not really going to get onto Carrick because it's the first game he's lost, you know, and I think there's a lot of fans out there that were just waiting for him to lose so they can be coming on here and saying, I told you so, you know, or just come on other platforms saying that. I'm not of that opinion because I definitely do think that Carrick has earned the right to be given leeway in terms of, you know, how the team has been doing over the last couple of games. Yeah, we know it hasn't been great, but we suffered for a year with Ruben Amorim. So why all of a sudden now are fans just deciding to start saying that, you know, Carrick ain't the guy, you know, Carrick is out of his depth. A lot of stuff I've been seeing is mad over one game, you know. Malacia hasn't completed the 90 minutes in years. I'm not going to slag him off. And the thing is, nor he shouldn't. But as we know with his fan base, yeah, they're not going to get onto the usual suspects. They won't get onto Bruno Fernandes. You know what I mean? They won't get onto players like that because it's too easy to be getting onto Tyrell Malacia. But if you use common sense, you will know that Malacia hasn't been playing. You know, and if you want to nitpick and say, you know, his defending was poor, if it was a player that was a better defender, would have showed him outside. We can all nitpick at these things, yeah? But the very fact that fans are getting onto Malacia rather than getting onto the player that really put us in trouble in the first place, Bruno Fernandes, it's easy to go and blame Malacia because this is what these fans do. A lot of fans just go and blame the easy targets rather than looking at players that are bigger problems. You know what I mean? This is something that I won't do. I'll give criticism and praise equally. You know, but a lot of fans just want to just jump on the bandwagon and blame the easy targets, unfortunately. You know what I mean? But yeah, there's no point blaming Malacia. He hasn't played in ages, you know, but we know what's going on here. So it's about being fluid sometimes. Four up front works, and sometimes you have to change formation. It is about being fluid, but it's about playing the right balance. You know what I mean? You don't just play a front four for the sake of it. You need balance in a team. This is why I've always spoken about the fact that Ten Hag played Rashford, Garnacho, Bruno, and Rasmus Højlund. That's never going to work. That's arguably the worst combination in the league when Ten Hag had it, because they're all players that are not ball retention players. And these things have to be taken into account. And the fact that Carrick played that front four, again, that front four of Mbuemo, Cunha, Sesko, and Bruno is better than the Bruno, Garnacho, Rashford, and Højlund. It's miles better. But they all have a very similar impact in terms of you haven't got any ball retention players there. You know what I mean? And until people realize this, we're always going to keep struggling, which is why when you look at the front four that I'd like to play, you know, you've got a bit of everything there. You've got ball retention in Ahmad and Zirkzee. Then you've got goals in Mbuemo. Then you've got the Maverick and Cunha. This is the front four that I keep saying that Man United need to be looking at. And then next season, you know, whether we can play Ahmad in the 10, play Kobbie in there, play Cunha in there. But as long as we keep playing Bruno Fernandes in the 10, and he wants to keep playing Mbuemo, you've got two players there that are not ball retention players. So the majority of your team, you know, isn't going to play the kind of way that I would like to see football being played, unfortunately. And that's what's going to happen. So, yeah. Guys, make sure we're smashing the likes. Make sure we are subbing to the channel as well. I feel like Bruno has improved slightly under Carrick due to Carrick's strategic approach on controlling the game by retaining the ball. Again, let's just speak on this, yeah? What I would say, when Carrick first came in, yeah, Bruno wasn't great. He wasn't. I think what was happening is that, just like with Bruno Fernandes, he gets numbers and people seem to think that when he gets numbers, he's playing a lot better than he is. What I would say is that when Carrick came in, Bruno was more disciplined in terms of playing a simple pass. You know, he was having an impact on games. Do I think Bruno was playing the best for Man United or the best in the league? No. I just think he was playing a lot better than he was under Amorim. He was a bit more disciplined. But what's happened with Bruno now, and I knew this was going to happen, yeah? I just knew this was going to happen. There's too many fans, yeah, that are blowing smoke up Bruno's ass. So what happens now, yeah? You hear the talk about Bruno getting a new contract. You know, Sky Sports are doing their coverage for Bruno, saying that, you know, he's Man United's best player. You know, he's the most creative player in the league. He's this, he's that. So don't think Bruno's not seeing this, yeah? So what's happened to Bruno now is that fans are blowing smoke up his ass, yeah? And he's now reverted back to trying to do everything, trying to take the ball off players' toes, trying to spam balls in, playing ill-disciplined. You know what I mean? So this is what's happened with Bruno Fernandes. And it wasn't too hard to see that he was going to go and do this, because he's been gassed up by a lot of fans to thinking he's better than what he really is. You know what I mean? So again, retaining the ball is something, a standard that a lot of players should be doing. You know, and Bruno was doing that when Carrick first came in. But as you can see now, he's reverted to type. And then what happens is that players, fans just ignore his basic performance, because if he gets an assist, it's like, let's absolve Bruno of any blame. And then what's happening now is that, you know, when you're looking at Man United losing the game, fans now are going to start saying, oh, but Bruno created 4 or 5 chances. This is what they do. Rather than looking at his general play, rather than looking at the fact that he actually gave away the penalty. People don't want to talk about that. Him giving away that penalty, yeah, is irresponsible. It is. Because Anthony Gordon's got pace, yeah. Anthony Gordon was trying to cut in. And rather than Bruno just let Gordon go through and rely on Lemens to make a save or rely on a defender to try and come across and cut it out, Bruno's trying to be a hero and then he's cost the team. But again, people will just say, yeah, but he got an assist. And then it absolves Bruno of any blame. And then you find fans going on to Tyrell Malacia. Again, these are the conversations that fans don't want to have because it's too easy to just go and blame, you know, the easy target. You know, so again, I would say he has improved under Carrick slightly, yeah. But you can see against Everton, he was poor against Everton. No one spoke about it. Against Fulham, he was poor, but got an assist because of what he done to Bassi. Yeah, in their eyes, again, it's not an assist. It's not an assist. If you know what real assists are, that's technically not an assist because Sesko had to take a touch and then maneuver himself to then score. So technically, that wasn't an assist. You look at the game against Newcastle, he weren't great. He was poor, but he gets an assist from a free kick. And there's been so many games this season where Bruno has been poor, but he's absolved because he might get the odd GA. And then Sky Sports will start showing you, you know, that he's got 14 assists. And as I keep telling you, half of these assists are not real assists, but people don't want to speak about it, you know. I think managers get forced to play Bruno. I don't know whether they're forced to play Bruno. I'll look at it like this, yeah. Bruno plays because of the high wage. He's the captain as well, and there is a clamour for him to play, whether we like it or not. And this is why I'll keep the same energy, yeah. Until Bruno Fernandes is out this club, do not expect Man United to be playing possession-based football and to be doing anything serious. Because people can keep talking about his numbers all they want, yeah. I guarantee you this: when he's out the club, yeah, you'll see us go up a level. I promise you. Because the one thing people will tell you about Bruno, yeah, as to why he's key in their eyes, is numbers. This is all people want to talk about. But numbers can be replaced. You need to remember that. Cunha is a bad man and his best is yet to come. And even now, though, he's putting a shift in. He's just waiting for his turn. But again, as I keep saying, the only way we get better out of Cunha is when Bruno goes. It's that simple. Carrick told Bruno, keep it basic and retain possession. Using patient, structured passing. Don't spam crosses. But again, if Carrick told him that, why is he reverting back to type then? Again, so either Bruno ain't listening to Carrick, yeah, or Bruno's been gassed up. That's all it is. Because when Carrick first came in, Bruno was doing that. He was keeping it simple. But it's very obvious now, you know, because it's funny how the contract talks has been around now. All of a sudden, you know, Bruno started to revert back to what he was doing. You know what I mean? And then you get nonsense like this. Bruno decides if he wants to go or stay. Now, obviously, I know Mamba's trolling anyway, yeah, but the very fact that you've got a player dictating whether he wants to go or not, you can't tell me that, like, that isn't a problem. Because who is Bruno Fernandes to decide whether he goes or stays? If Man United are meant to be this big institute, yeah, of a club, yeah, why are they allowing a player to dictate? And even though, yeah, this ain't even true anyway. This is just being put out there by fans that are Bruno fans. Like this ain't even true. I know it's not true because you can just read between the lines and see it's not true because He's a player that's turning 32 next season. He's on a higher wage. We know what Ineos are looking at when it comes to the wages anyway. Yeah. So why would Bruno decide whether he wants to go or stay? In the summer, Ineos are going to decide what happens with Bruno. That's what's going to happen. Do I believe Bruno gets a new contract and gets more money? Hell no. Hell no. That wouldn't make any sense. So even all this nonsense about Bruno getting more money, that's just people just trying to do content for content's sake. There's no way Ineos will give him a new contract. It's not going to happen. Look at the history of what Ineos have been doing. Why would they now decide? Yeah, they've been cutting staff costs. Yeah, they're trying to remove big earners. Why are they now going to decide Bruno, who's with Rashford, our biggest, and Casemiro, the biggest earners? Why would they now give Bruno more money? You know, I was hearing Bruno to get 400 grand a week. Like, it's just bullshit talk, really. Let's be honest. Never going to happen. You know? Mbuemo scored against Liverpool, City, and Arsenal. What does that mean? Like, and so I'm trying to say to you, yeah, like the very fact that someone's saying that Mbuemo scored against Liverpool, City, and Arsenal. Well, yeah, like, but who cares about that? Like, he scored against big teams. So what are we saying then? Because he scored against big teams, he now has to play every game. Like these comments make no sense. The point is, yeah, Mbuemo's someone that does get goals. But would I rather have someone in the team that is a ball retention player rather than someone that, if he doesn't score a goal, but his general play is poor? I'll pick the ball retention every time. Because if you got ball retention players in your team, more times than not, you are going to create chances. You know, Mbuemo has his space in the squad. But I would use Mbuemo as an impact sub, just like how I would use Benjamin Sesko. All the players, yeah, like Bruno Fernandes, all the players that are spam merchants or players that get you GA, not every time these guys have to start games. It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that, you know what I mean? But again, people don't want to understand that. Because the fact that we're reading that he scored against Liverpool, City, and Arsenal, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? Like, it's irrelevant, you know what I mean? Gab, will Calvert-Lewin make the England squad? For me, it's going to be between him and Danny Welbeck. Because I only think England take two strikers. Harry Kane, obviously, there's no point talking about Harry Kane because he's there. So I think they take one more striker. So I think it's going to be between Ollie Watkins, Calvert-Lewin, Welbeck. I mean, it should be Ivan Toney, but the fact that Tony's playing in Saudi, it might go against him. So Calvert-Lewin's in the conversation. Malacia played shit though. But again, the fact that you're choosing to go on to Malacia, yeah, is part of the problem. Because Malacia is just an easy scapegoat. Because there's fans out there, yeah, that will just tell you Malacia's shit, yeah. And then when he comes on, you know, people are not going to factor in that he hasn't played football for how long. But because the team got beat, he's the easy scapegoat. But as I keep saying, fans are not going to get onto Bruno Fernandes. Because as far as they're concerned, he got GA. But if you actually check the game, he gave away the penalty, yeah, and he was the reason why the ball got turned over yet again, which led to Malacia and Harry Maguire not doing their job, you would say, on Will Asula. But fans don't want to chat about that because Malacia is the easy scapegoat, just like many other players throughout the past. Just like Fred was a scapegoat. Work it out yourself. You know what I mean? Bruno did not put us in a struggle. There was loads of players playing shit that game. It was Bruno and Casemiro that kept. Again, this is just a comment for comment's sake, yeah. Because when you're saying Bruno didn't put us in a struggle, yeah, I think you're missing the point, yeah. Bruno gave away the penalty needlessly because he was trying to be a hero, yeah. If you look at the goal that Newcastle scored, go and look back who gave the ball away initially. Yes, we can nitpick and say that, you know, Malacia and Maguire, you know, should have done better in defending, but go and look at who turned the ball over. You know what I mean? You're just saying that Bruno wasn't shit because he had the assist for Casemiro from the free kick and he created chances. And this is part of the problem. He gets absolved of any blame because of numbers. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's pathetic, man. Watch the game and you'll see, you know, that you put the numbers to the side, you know, he was a problem in the whole game. You know what I mean? I don't really know where this whole numbers to protect a player has come from, really. You know, football's about performances, not numbers. Numbers are not sustainable, but performances should be. Because I'd much rather a player, yeah, I'd much rather a player get no numbers but have a consistent base level of a performance. Because numbers can be shared out throughout the squad. But the fact that Bruno's getting absolved of blame and saying that Bruno did not put us in a struggle, there's loads of players playing shit. Yeah, not a lot of players played well. Yeah, but to say that Bruno kept us in the game with Casemiro, that's not true. Bruno emptied the midfield, which put on a lot of pressure to Casemiro and Kobbie Mainoo. You know, Kobbie wasn't great, but you could allude that to Kobbie was tired, but Kobbie's always got a base level of a performance. Whenever Kobbie's on the ball, you just know he's going to keep the ball. That is invaluable. You know, and these are the kind of things that people ignore. You know, Bruno as well, yeah, he's playing gung-ho again. He's playing as like a second kind of striker, you know, always charging down the goalkeeper. What people don't actually realize, yeah, is that when Bruno does that, he's out of position. And it's easy for the opposition, yeah, to find the space that he should be in, because he's now deciding to press when he's meant to be playing as a number 10. Now, whether that's instruction from Carrick here or whether he's just doing that is poor. Because if you've got a player that does that, yeah, and you've got a possession-based team that want to, you know, play around you, you know, better teams are going to exploit that. That's the truth. I don't think that is instruction from Carrick. I think Bruno does that, yeah, because he's allowed to be given the license, yeah, and not instruction under Carrick, yeah, but he's the captain, he's the big earner, and the fans are blowing smoke up his ass to make him think that he can go and do whatever he wants. The fact that he's emptying the midfield like that, you can't tell me that is a positive, because better teams are just going to play around him, and then we're now under pressure. And all fans are going to start doing now is look at Kobbie Mainoo and Casemiro as the midfield is not good enough. And let's get it right, yeah. The midfield, as we know, does need to be improved, yeah. But the midfield is not helped by having a player like Bruno Fernandes, who has now all of a sudden started reverting back to playing the way he's playing. You know, he's not helping that midfield. If anything, he's putting more pressure onto them because he's not offering himself up to help in midfield as being a passing option. All he cares about, Bruno, yeah, is what stats he can get to absolve himself of any blame. And then fans buy into this rubbish. You know what I mean? It's madness. What will you say when Bruno wins Player of the Season in the Premier League? Well, let's narrow that down right now, yeah? For one, he's not winning Player of the Season. He's not going to win Player of the Season, yeah? And two, you're just showing, yeah, that you care more about Bruno Fernandes than Man United. And this is the problem. This is why, yeah. This is why there's probably a divide, because there's too many fans that care about Bruno rather than Man United. The fact that you're coming on there saying there that, and I'm going to call you out, Carrick Ball FC. You've got the cheek to say Carrick Ball FC, but you're fantasizing about Bruno. It makes no sense. You're coming on there saying that if Bruno wins Player of the Season, how about Bruno just plays his part for the team and helps the team get into Champions League? Why are you coming on there saying about Bruno getting Player of the Season? Because you don't care about Man United, really. You just care about Bruno Fernandes. And that's part of the problem, man. Like, fans like this don't make no sense. I want my team to win, but you just want Bruno to win. It don't make sense. Don't make sense. You know what I mean? Crazy. Wait until Carrick results his own caliber of players that will accentuate his own system, the coordinate ball retention system. Yeah, listen, Carrick's doing with what Carrick's doing with. Obviously, he's had no signings, but he's doing what he can do now with the team that he's got. Yeah, but what I would say, yeah, is that, and I'll keep saying this, yeah, if you want to play with ball retention players, yeah, possession based, we've got players in our squad that can do that. Yeah. You've got Mazraoui is ball retention. Yeah. You've got Matthias de Ligt can play ball retention. Leny Yoro, Lissandro, Aiden Heaven, Kobbie Mainoo, Amad Diallo, Joshua Zirkzee. You know, those players first and foremost are our ball retention players. Yeah. All we need to do, yeah, is just get key players or just get more players, you know, that are more ball retention players, and then you can start looking at this team as being ball possession based. But at the moment, we've got Cunha, who's a maverick, who's not really ball retention. Mbuemo's not ball retention. Bruno's not ball retention. Benjamin Sesko's not really ball retention. Manuel Ugarte is shit. Casemiro, for as good as Casemiro is, his game isn't really ball retention. So you've Patrick Dorgu's an athlete, even though, you know, I believe he can be ball retention. Dallow's not really ball retention. So again, you've got players like that. You know, if your majority of your squad or your lineup is ball retention, you are naturally going to get better football. You will do. And again, I'm not saying that the whole of Man United squad needs to be ball retention players. Yeah. But if you want to play, if you want to see good football consistently, whether people like it or not, the majority of the players need to be ball retention players. It's that simple. You know what I mean? So let's see what happens next season, if it's Carrick or if it's other players. But I'll keep it consistent. Yeah. As long as Bruno Fernandes, yeah, is in this team, this Man United team, do not expect Man United to be playing consistently good football. It's not going to happen, because you've got a guy, yeah, that has been made the captain. He's one of the highest earners. He plays in a position, the number 10 position, which is meant to be for your best player, your most talented player. Yeah, he plays every game. He's on every set piece. He is basically the fulcrum of the team. But the fulcrum of the team needs to be your best player, and he's not that. He isn't that. Your most talented player needs to be at the hub of the team. He isn't that. He's just being gassed by the fan base because he gets numbers. Because I guarantee you this now, yeah, if we wasn't looking at numbers, there's no way people would be saying that Bruno Fernandes is Man United's best player. This is the problem. And until this changes, why are we going to expect Man United to be playing any different? Really? It's crazy, man. So why the fuck would they put Bruno on big wages if it's not good, bruv? You know what though, yeah? This is and again, I'm gonna answer this question, yeah. But this is sort of like low level conversation, yeah, because The fact that we're discussing stuff like this, yeah, it's low level. So you're saying, why would they put him on big wages? Yeah. So again, Bruno's been at the club for how many years? 7 years, yeah? 6 or 7 years. He's obviously looked at by the fan base, yeah, as being United's best player, their most influential player, even though I don't think he is, yeah? When he's on big wages, it's not a surprise to me that he's on big wages because, as I keep saying to you, yeah, the way football has gone now, he consistently gets numbers. So numbers, yeah, they do have their value in the game. That's not what I'm not saying it doesn't, yeah. So again, the fact that Bruno is looked at Man United because of numbers and the fact that he plays week in, week out, it's not a case where I'm surprised that Bruno is going to be on big wages. Like that's going to happen. You know what I mean? But my thing is, yeah, there's talk about Bruno being given more money, which shouldn't happen. You know what I mean? As I keep saying, he gets numbers, yeah, to the detriment of the team. He does. Because all he cares about really is what numbers he can get, you know, to absolve him of any blame. And fans buy into this. Fans buy into this. I'll keep using the same argument that I've used for years. When we look at players like Zidane, Ronaldinho, Andres Iniesta, yeah, these guys, you know, again, Iniesta didn't predominantly play in a number 10. If you remember Zidane and Ronaldinho, yeah, Zidane played left midfield at Real Madrid, you know, in a 4-4-2. Obviously, for France, he played in a number 10. Ronaldinho was a number 10, but played in the 4-3-3 from the left for Barcelona. Yeah. Go and look at their numbers in compared to Bruno. Bruno destroys them for numbers. But there's no one in the chat can tell me that Bruno's better than any three of them. You know what I mean? So again, numbers can be replaced. Yeah. So just to say that Bruno is on, if he wasn't good, he wouldn't be on big wages. Conor Gallagher is on 200 grand a week. I'll tell you that again. Conor Gallagher is on 200 grand a week at Tottenham. So when you're saying to me that if he wasn't that good, he wouldn't be on big wages, use common sense as to what's happening here. You know what I mean? Use common sense. The club obviously going to give him big wages because he's looked at by a large fan base as he's the best player at the club when he's not. And again, until it actually registers, yeah, that this guy is a bigger problem for the club than he isn't, than he is a positive, we're going to keep making the same mistakes, unfortunately. You know what I mean? So I don't know what to tell you, man. It's not a surprise on big wages. It's not a surprise. You know, you look at the big earners, Casemiro, Bruno, Rashford. You know what I mean? These guys are, you got Casemiro is a different case. He's come from Real Madrid. He's a winner. He's our best player, Casemiro. You know what I mean? He's our winner. Obviously, Rashford come through the youth. The club haven't had to pay a transfer fee for him. And obviously, Bruno is the captain. He's looked at as the best player by a lot of fans. This is why they're on the big wages. But it doesn't mean the fact that Bruno's on 300 grand a week doesn't mean that he's worthy of 300 grand a week. He's not. He's not. Because let's face it, yeah, since Bruno's been at the club, if you've got players on that big wage, what's he won since he's been on that big wage for Manchester United? What's he won? Casemiro had pedigree coming to Manchester United. So you could argue and say, yeah, you can see why he's on 350. This guy won Champions Leagues. Now, people are going to tell you that, yeah, but if Bruno was in that team, he would have won Champions Leagues. Not necessarily. Because you don't know that Bruno would have been... Because if you look at when Casemiro and what was in the team with Toni Kroos and Modric win them Champions Leagues, there's no way Bruno could have done that with what Toni Kroos and Modric were doing in that midfield. No way. So again, you have to look at things like that, man. Yeah, listen, Mamba, man, you guys are in the driving seat. Let's see what you can do, man. You know what I mean? The thing is, Mamba, yeah, I can't even blame you for getting excited, man. You have every right to be, but just show that excitement at the end of the season. Just show that excitement at the end of the season, please. Let him go. United have had bigger losses and always replace. He's after a new big contract. Yeah, big up, man. You know what it is now. Yeah, this is a great comment because it's like, I mean, I'm hearing stuff like we can't do without Bruno. Like, give him 400 grand a week. I mean, these fans that are saying that, yeah, either they're not switched on, yeah, or they're just doing this for traction. Why would Man United give Bruno Fernandes 400 grand a week? Why? We've already seen, as I said earlier, they're trying to cut costs. But yet fans think it's a good idea to give him a new contract and give him more money. It don't make any sense. The very fact that we've got players that can play where he's playing, yeah, just tells you that he's not really a required player. He's not. Goals can be replaced. You need to remember that. Goals can be replaced throughout the squad. It's the truth. It can be replaced. Don't look at the fact that Bruno gets numbers as like we can't do without Bruno. I guarantee you once he goes, we're going to be better. I promise you. You know what I mean? So I'm looking closely, yeah, at the end of the season to see what Man United do with Bruno Fernandes. Because I'll tell you this now, yeah. If they give him more money, yeah, like, do I believe he goes at the end of the season? I think it's definitely a question, yeah. Because I can't remember when his contract runs out. Again, if anyone in the chat knows when his contract runs out, if you put that in, yeah. But if he was to get more money and he stays, yeah, that's going to be a big L for the club. I promise you, because fans are going to be looking at it thinking, "Oh, we've secured Bruno." Yeah. Again, I don't want to be hearing no fans when Bruno starts putting in stinkers start complaining. We need to capitalize on it right now. We have an opportunity to get a player that's been there for 7 years. And whether you rate him or not, we have a chance to move him on for money, yeah, to replace that to revamp that midfield and get players that we've already got there, you know, more involved, you know, centrally as in the team, and then we can go in a different direction. But if we was to give Bruno another contract because he gets numbers, I'm saying you this now, yeah, this club ain't gonna learn nothing. And again, I don't really want to be hearing people say that, oh, Bruno's playing shit now, because I won't be here for it. I'll just be laughing, thinking, well, you were the guys that wanted him to stay. We need to get rid of him. We need to get rid of him at the end of the season. I don't care what his numbers look like. Capitalize on this numbers nonsense, and let's move in a different direction. It's that simple. He's overrated like Pogba, Rashford. I disagree with that, Rob. Like, Pogba wasn't overrated. Like, he definitely wasn't overrated. Pogba's one of the best players of his generation. You know what I mean? Just go and have a look at his attributes. So to say that Bruno's overrated, he is overrated in the grand scheme of it, in terms of if you put his numbers to the side, he is overrated. You know what I mean? But you can't put Bruno Fernandes in the same conversation with Paul Pogba. There's levels to football. Paul Pogba was a generational talent. Bruno Fernandes isn't that. Bruno Fernandes is just a GA merchant. And because the game is very much based on GA, fans don't care about performances no more. It's the truth, you know? And now you're seeing it with Rashford, you know? I was never a massive fan of Rashford in the first place. I wasn't. I thought when Rashford came through, it was a breath of fresh air. But you could see from Rashford's game, his game was about pace. You know what I mean? But what's happened to Rashford, yeah, is that Rashford was pitted ahead of Martial. And we all know why that was. Then when Martial went, yeah, or when fans had Garnacho come through, they were desperate for Garnacho to outstage Rashford. And then you realized how shit Garnacho is, and then you've realized what a kind of person Garnacho was, it's now blown up in their faces. You know what I mean? There's people saying that Garnacho, you know, was going to go to Real Madrid. This is the kind of nonsense that people were saying. And all of a sudden now, because Garnacho has shown his face to see what he really is, when, you know, if you just watch the games, you would have seen that he was never a good player in the first place. But it was more about him trying to be put above Rashford, to put Rashford in his place. You know what I mean? But Rashford was never the level that many fans thought he was. You know, the fact that Rashford's at Barcelona, he's at Barcelona because of the name Rashford, not because he's actually a top player. It's because the name Rashford holds weight now in football, and that's got him. That's got him a loan move to Barcelona. It's the truth. You know what I mean? And I'd argue that with anyone. Sorry, guys, bear me 1 minute. I'm just checking something. Bear me 1 minute. Yeah. So as I said, yeah, I think the Rashford one's different, but yeah, the fact that he's now at Barcelona, it's only because of his name, really. You know, the guy still hasn't scored 100 Premier League goals, and look how long he was in the league for. So he's on high wages because he's good, not because of the fans. So what you're saying is bollocks. Again, Carrick Ball FC. It's low level conversation with you, man. You're not getting it. You're just not getting it. Like, let's move past this because your understanding is just not there, man. It's like, yeah, Conor Gallagher is on 200 grand a week. Is Conor Gallagher a 200 grand a week player? No, he's not. Is Bruno Fernandes a 300 grand a week player? There's fans saying he should be on 400 grand a week. No, he's not. So let's move past this because, again, you're not going to understand, man. So I ain't got time to keep explaining. You know what I mean? I'm not like Bruno being on 300 grand a week is not really a surprise. You know what I mean? So let's move past it anyway. Mbuemo is a sick player. Again, like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I'm laughing because he's a sick player. He's not a sick player, man. He's just someone that gets numbers. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. If you put it this way, yeah, if you think Mbuemo's a sick player, it tells me that you haven't really seen too many players. And that's nothing against Mbuemo, by the way, because Mbuemo has his uses. But Mbuemo's not a sick player, man. He's just someone that gets numbers. He gets goals. Because you get goals don't mean you're a sick player. It doesn't mean that. You know what I mean? Pippo Inzaghi got goals. He wasn't a top player. He wasn't. He was a fox in the box. So, again, man, there's levels to football, man. Levels to football. Kobbie Mainoo is overrated. Also not a wonder kid like Rooney, Owen, and Rooney and Owen. I mean, Kobbie's not overrated, to be fair. I think Kobbie's in an era of football now, yeah, as I keep mentioning, yeah. People don't care about players that are technically gifted. You know what I mean? Fans don't care about that. Fans just care about numbers. You know what I mean? And when you're mentioning Kobbie Mainoo with Rooney and Owen, like Rooney and Owen were freaks at that age. No one's asking Kobbie to be Rooney or Owen. Not to mention that Kobbie's a midfielder, not a striker or a 10. So to mention Kobbie and Rooney and Owen, you know what I mean? It's unfair and it's not serious. You know what I mean? But the fact that people are saying Kobbie is overrated, yeah. What do you expect Kobbie to be? What do you expect Kobbie to be? Lamine Yamal? What you expect Kobbie to be? R9? Like, it don't make sense. Like, Kobbie's a top footballer. He is. So when people are saying that he's not a wonder kid like Owen or Rooney, well, guess what? Not many players are. Like, what you think Owen and Rooney, what you think players are that come around all the time? They don't. You know what I mean? What Owen done when Owen come through at Liverpool was what Mbappe done. You know what I mean? Leny Yoro was a key player for club and country at 16. These players are freaks. You know what I mean? At that age, not every player should be like that. You know what I mean? So to be crashing it on Kobbie Mainoo and saying he's overrated don't really make sense. You know what I mean? Doesn't make sense. At the start of the season, when he was scoring, you loved him, mate. But again, it's your first time on air, Carrick Ball, yeah? So how can you tell me what I was thinking? Like, you're making stuff up. You can't tell me that I loved him. What are you talking about? The facts are, yeah? The facts are, I never wanted Mbuemo as the first choice in the first place. Go and watch my streams before. My first choice was Mohamed Kudus. It wasn't Mbuemo. But when we got Mbuemo, I can see why United signed him, because he gets goals. But Mbuemo's not better than Ahmad. He's nowhere near Ahmad as a footballer. But Mbuemo will get himself ahead of Ahmad, unfortunately, at the moment, because it's about goals. And that's what football's become now. It's not about the player that's a better player. It's about what guy can score me a goal to either keep me in a job, yeah, or to get me relevant in a sense, you know. I mean, in terms of fans, like, because fans only look at players that score goals. That's what football's become now. You know what I mean? So again, I think you've made that up, man, because I've never seen you in the chat before. So, yeah, man. Big up Clockenders says Casemiro is off at the end of the season, isn't he? Yeah, he is, unfortunately. I mean, we should be trying everything we can to keep him, because a player of that experience, you know, of that winning mentality, they don't come around too often, you know. And if there's some way where we can keep Casemiro for another season, you know, as not even to play every game, but as the experience, you know, the winning mentality around the squad, we should be doing everything we can to be trying to make that happen. But again, I don't think it's going to happen, and it is what it is, isn't it? And I'm hoping at the end of the season, you know, there's some sort of turnaround, but it's unlikely, you know. Leny Yoro is not good enough. I've seen enough of him. Same with Utd. Again, man, like, the Leny Yoro slander makes no sense. You know, this is a guy that we stole from Real Madrid, but all of a sudden he's not good enough. You know what I mean? And this is what fans do. You know what I mean? This is what fans do. Like, Leny's not good enough based off of what? Off of what? He was playing free at the back when he's never played free at the back in his career under Amorim. And then what's he done wrong since Carrick's come in? What's he done wrong? What? Because he missed the header against Lacroix. He shouldn't have been marking Lacroix in the first place, if we're being serious, because Harry Maguire is our best header of the ball, and he should have been marking their most dominant of the ball in the air. So if you want to nitpick at things like that, then yeah. But Ugarte is poor. I do agree Ugarte is poor, because Ugarte is not a footballer, not a great footballer. And whenever Ugarte comes onto the pitch, we concede. So that's relevant. But to be jumping on Leny Yoro doesn't make sense to me, because we shouldn't have had Leny Yoro in the first place. That's the reality. You know what I mean? He's up there, mate. Carrick Ball. I don't care who's up there. Like everyone says it, yeah? I don't care what everyone says. If I don't rate Bruno Fernandes, that's it. That's it. That's final. Like, I don't need you telling me that everyone says it. Like, I listen to my opinion, you know what I mean, on Bruno Fernandes, because I've seen too much football. If you want to have your opinion that you rate Bruno, then that's cool. Like, we can debate it out. But if everyone's saying the same thing, I couldn't give a toss. Like, that's the truth. Like, I don't rate Bruno Fernandes, and that's it. Like, it's that simple, man. It's just that simple. Gav, I don't care what anyone says that Shaw and Maguire should have gone years ago. They're staying about like a bad smell. Yeah, listen, I hear it, but I'll be honest with you. I'll keep Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire isn't a problem for me. When Harry Maguire first came to the club, 80 million, big wages, starting every game, it was a problem. But Harry Maguire has his uses in the team. If Harry Maguire is there next season and he's a backup defender, and he can play the cup games, the Premier League games, or if he can come on, we're trying to hold on to a lead. I haven't got a problem with Harry Maguire. And obviously he's going to drop his wage as well. Harry Maguire is not an issue for me. He's not. Right now, I would keep Harry Maguire 100%, because all you have to look at, is if we sell Harry Maguire, what player are you going to go and get with experience like Harry Maguire, not just in the Premier League, but around football, that's going to do the same job? You're not going to go and get that. And if he can drop his wage, from what he's been paid previously, then he's not an issue. Luke Shaw, on the other hand, has been there for over a decade. He spent half his time out injured, and he's on like 190. That's a bigger problem than Harry Maguire. It is. So again, I'm not with Harry Maguire getting sold. I'm not. Luke Shaw, I hear it. You know what I mean? But Harry Maguire, I'll keep him. And I was a massive fan of Luke Shaw. I'm a fan of Luke Shaw, the footballer. But Luke Shaw's been there for over 10 years now, and he's someone that should have been gone a long time ago. But fans are too busy getting onto other players rather than players like that. Don't make sense. Big up to Chris, says Zirkzee has a higher range of technical skills and agility, but a return of 2 goals in 18 matches this season ain't good enough. But again, you know what it is, Chris? You started off well, because Zirkzee does have a higher range of technical skills and agility. But when you're saying he's got a return of 2 goals in 18 matches, again, this is narratives that are trying to be brought into the conversation, How many of them games has Zirkzee started? That's what I want to know. How many of them games has he started? How many of them games has he played 90 minutes? Another thing, Joshua Zirkzee isn't a player that you look at solely for numbers. He isn't. This is what people are doing, because to put in there that he's got 2 goals in 18 matches, you're trying to build a narrative. Because why don't you look at the fact that how many starts has he had? And no one's not saying 2 goals isn't great. We know that. But Zirkzee hasn't played 10 games in a row. Not to mention, Zirkzee isn't a striker that you would look at as having to get 15, 20 goals a season. That isn't his game. What you need to realize, is that Joshua Zirkzee will play his part, of a functioning team and make the team play better. These are the things that need to be looked at. Not 2 goals in 18 games, because we all know that he hasn't had 10 starts. So these are false stats. It's just like now someone saying to me, Bruno should have had at least 3 assists versus Newcastle, And this is what fans do, They focus on Bruno for numbers, not for performance. Because what's happened now, is that if Bruno got those 3 assists, people would be talking about, oh, Bruno's got GA again. But because he didn't get the 3 assists and we lost the game, no one's talking about the fact that he gave away the penalty. The fact that he gave away the penalty, it cancels out his assist from the free kick for Casemiro. The fact he gave away the ball, which led to Newcastle's goal, why are people not talking about that? Again, I'll talk about it if you don't want to talk about it, but this is the problem. There's too many fans that are just Bruno FC rather than Man United. You know what I mean? Bruno's level of passing is actually underrated. But I'm guessing my go MUN, you haven't seen players then. Like it just tells me that you haven't seen players, because that's one of the worst comments I've seen. His passing is underrated. And I'll give you an idea as well, yeah? If you look at Bruno Fernandes, yeah, he passes a lot of times into space, yeah? Passing into space is easier than picking someone out, yeah? Because passing into space, if you've got a willing runner, yeah, you can just pass ball into space and they run onto it. Picking someone out is a lot harder. Look at a lot of Bruno Fernandes' passes, yeah? A lot of them are into space. You know? To say his passing's underrated, yeah, is telling me you haven't seen passes, really. Go and look at Andrea Pirlo. Yeah? Go and look at Marco Verratti. Xavi. Toni Kroos. You know? Paul Scholes. Close to home. Xabi Alonso. Marcos Senna. There's loads of players that I can't remember, but I'm just trying to think on the spot. So when you're telling me his passing is underrated, yeah, who are we comparing him to? Are we comparing him to Scott McTominay to say that his passing's underrated? Like, come on, man. What are we doing here? Thoughts on that? Man United should focus on youth academy, growing the future generation of talent to be able to take the fight to teams like Liverpool, Man City, and Arsenal. Yeah, listen, big up, man. My thoughts on the academy, yeah, is, and I'll bring it back to this, yeah. I'm from the era, yeah, of when Manchester United had in their reserve, before it was called the under-23s, yeah. It was called Manchester United Reserves. If anyone remembers, MUTV, yeah. I'm from the era of when Man United had players like Giuseppe Rossi, Lee Martin, Sylvan Ebanks-Blake, Ravel Morrison, you know, Chris Eagles. I'm from the era of watching them guys in the reserve team. Yeah. So how I look at the academy and the reserves, yeah, I don't want to see Man United just bring through players just because they're trying to keep up this tradition of having players in the first team squad. You know what I mean? I don't believe that. For me, if you're good enough, you should be there. I look at players that have been regularly in the first team, yeah? Garnacho, not good enough. Rashford was there on a technicality because Martial got injured. And if you remember, Will King got injured as well, yeah? So we had no strikers. Fair enough to Rashford, he took his chance, yeah? Mason Greenwood, generational talent, deserved to be there. Ravel Morrison, generational as well. But obviously we know the background of Ravel Morrison, which probably had its part, which had its part to play. Angel Gomez was a top player and should have got more game time. But again, you know, all we heard about, he hasn't got the physicality. Yeah? Kobbie Mainoo, top player, one of the best players to come through the academy in recent times. Paul Pogba, we know he was bought, generational talent. Jesse Lingard had his uses, wasn't a world-class, top-quality player for me, but was a good player for Man United, come through the youth. Yeah? You look at what's come through now, yeah? Recently. The Fletcher brothers that have been included recently, they're not good enough. You can just see already. Shea Lacey's got something. I like Shea Lacey. I think Shea Lacey, for me, should be part of the first team squad next season. He's got something. Yeah? Who else is there? Sekou Kone, from what I've seen of him. Again, he was bought, yeah? But he's got something. JJ Gabriel's got something. You know, we shouldn't be playing youth players in the academy or the reserves for the sake of it. If you're good enough, you'll find your way in there. That's how I look at it. Scott McTominay wasn't good enough. Had his uses in terms of a goal-scoring midfielder, but technically, is that the kind of level of player that we should be getting in Man United's first team? Hell no. Yeah? So I look at our youth, yeah? The younger players that we have right now in the first team squad. Lamens is young, yes. Leny Yoro, yes. Aiden Heaven, yes. Patrick Dorgu, yes. Kobbie, yes. Ahmad, yes. Zirkzee, Sesko, yes. These guys are all players that are under the age of 25 that should all be part of the first team squad. No doubt, yeah. And obviously, we have to go and strengthen it as well. But again, I don't want to see players just thrown into the first team squad just because we're trying to keep up this tradition of getting youngsters into the first team squad. I don't believe that should happen. Big up to Fitz says, Conor Gallagher on 200k a week, no correlation between wage and talent. Exactly. That's my point. And that's what I'm trying to say to you, yeah? Does Bruno Fernandes' talent match the wage? Hell no. Bruno Fernandes is getting given that wage because of hype from the fan base and numbers. But I'd always tell you this now, because you're getting numbers doesn't mean, for me, you should ever be on 300 grand a week. Never. How Conor Gallagher got 200 grand a week for running around the pitch is crazy. But this is where football's gone now. You know, that kind of money should be given to players that are just pure footballers. The Lamine Yamals, the Pedris, the Vitinhas, the Ousmane Dembélés. You know what I mean? Players of that ilk that are showing it in their quality of play. They're the kind of players that should be on that kind of money. Not players that are just spamming numbers. It's madness. If we didn't have Bruno, we wouldn't be third. We had Bruno when we finished 15th. What are you talking about? Bruno was playing when we were 15th last season. Bruno was playing when we got beat by Tottenham, who are struggling this season in the league. Bruno played when we got beat in the Europa League final. So all this Bruno, we wouldn't be third. And again, that's a lie. Like this nonsense about we wouldn't be third if Bruno wasn't there. Where's this coming from? It's a complete lie. You know what I mean? Rather than focus on we wouldn't be third if Bruno wasn't there, focus on that we finished 15th when he was there. You know what I mean? London Football Awards and the Premier League, they will give it to him at the end of May too. Even if they give it to Bruno Fernandes, Player of the Year, I mean, I don't even take these things seriously anyway. We all know how these things work. It's a popularity contest. It's not about who the actual best player is. I see something today that Declan Rice has been given an award. Yeah? Why are they giving Declan Rice the award? They're only giving it to him because Arsenal are top of the league. Because really and truly, and I think Arteta got one as well. Now, what's going to happen, Sky Sports are going to be made to look very silly, if Arsenal don't win this league. Because to give them awards, they're only doing that because Arsenal are top. And they're assuming that Arsenal win the league. If Arsenal don't win the league, I'm telling you now, Sky Sports are in the mud for all this. I promise you. You know, and even if Bruno gets given Player of the Season by PFA or the awards, I couldn't give a damn, really, because we all know what's going on here. You know, and I've said this for time. The media and the pundits, you know, they're the ones that are pushing the likes of Bruno Fernandes. They're pushing his name to make people think that he's a lot better than what he really is. You know what I mean? So, again, these things are popularity contests. They are. Because, let's face it, if we're looking at over the entire season, who's been one of the most consistent players over the entire season for quality, why is Moises Caicedo's name not in there? Why is Declan Rice being talked about ahead of Caicedo? Because Declan Rice ain't better than Caicedo. But because Arsenal are top, you know, and there's other factors involved in this is why it's happening. Bruno Fernandes, if he's being talked about as being, you know, getting awards, they're just doing that based off of the fact that he's got 13 assists or 14 assists. But again, those assists are not real assists. It's not. But people don't care about the game like that, really. I do. You know what I mean? I grew up on football. Football's all I know to a level. Do you know what I mean? So you can't pull the wool over my eyes because I don't miss a trick when it comes to football. You know what I mean? The fact that people are saying that Bruno should be winning the awards, I expect him to be there, Not because he deserves to be, but football's about a popularity contest. because it's going to be Bruno, it's going to be Declan Rice, it's going to be, what's his name? Gabriel will be involved in there as well. You know, there's a few other players as well around the league. You have to realize what's actually going on here. Chat's making me laugh, man. Guys, big up yourselves as well, man. Make sure you're smashing the like. Make sure you're subbing to the channel, and make sure you are sharing the channel on your platforms as well. I do love debate, man. I ain't gonna lie. I do love it. Yeah, big up Titanium, man. Opta-stats. That's what football's become now. That's what football's become. You know what I mean? You'll never get me being swayed by stats, because stats should be used as a bonus. It's a fact. Should be used as a bonus. Look at the player first and foremost, and then decide if you want to include the stats. That's how football should be. Because I'll point out to you one player, Andres Iniesta, generational midfielder, one of the best midfielders to play the game. Go and look at Iniesta's stats, and then you'll see why I don't rate stats. It's not I don't rate stats here, but stats should never be used as the measuring stick for any player if you like your football. Yeah, big up Fitz, man. So Bruno's contract expires in 2027. Yeah, so again, so it's going to come down to the end of the season, judgment day, yeah? And I'll tell you this now, yeah? We need to get rid of Bruno at the end of the season. I couldn't care what anyone says, yeah? Because I'm looking at Manchester United, the betterment of Man United, yeah? If Man United was to offer him a new contract, yeah, and for more money, yeah, I'll tell you now, it would be a disgrace. It would be an absolute disgrace. I'm telling you, he needs to be gone at the end of the season, and especially when we've got players that can play where he's playing, and we can get more out of the team as a whole. It's never a good thing here to see when you've got one player that dominates stats. It might look good, you know, it might look good on paper, yeah, but if you've got a lot of players that are not really contributing, and you've got one player hogging things up, yeah. At what point do you realize that, yeah, if we're to get better out of the other players, maybe we need to sacrifice this one player for the betterment of the team and the squad? How about looking at things like that? Because I guarantee you, yeah, you take him out, you take Bruno out, yeah, you're gonna get Cunha stepping up as a Maverick. Ahmad needs to be more involved in the game. I can't stand seeing Ahmad, yeah, picking the ball up from wide, not really involved in the game. You know, we had to watch Ahmad play wingback. I don't think people deep how much of a disrespect that is. I kept saying it at the time. Bryan Mbuemo is more the wingback than what Ahmad is, because Bryan Mbuemo has got legs. So has Ahmad, but Ahmad's got the quality. And the closest position to when Amrin was playing the 3-4-2-1 to a winger was wingback. It's in the name. Winger, wingback. Ahmad's a 10 that can play as a wide man as well. But the kind of quality that Ahmad has, he needs to be playing central. It's that simple. He needs to be playing central. Bruno is our best chance for silverware. The only player that can really break down teams, key player. We looked terrible without him when he was injured. Mine doesn't offer enough. Again, load of nonsense. Yeah. If he's our best chance of winning silverware, why have we not won any noticeable silverware then? He had his chance in the Europa League final. Why didn't we win that if Bruno is this best chance for silverware? Like, it's nonsense. And to say Mainoo doesn't offer enough, yeah? Again, what do you want Mainoo to offer? Like a lot of these comments that are coming out, yeah, make no sense. Bruno can break down teams. No, he just spams balls into the box. And we look terrible without him. What, after a couple of games? Like, and what's to say that we look terrible without him? It's a lie. It's a lie. Like, I don't really know what fans are watching. I don't think they're watching the game properly. You know what I mean? They're not watching the game properly. I think a lot of these comments are just coming from other fans, other channels, not really understanding the game. What do you mean Kobbie doesn't offer enough? What do you want Kobbie to do? Score what? Score 5 to 10 goals in the game? Kobbie will play his part in the midfield, yeah, of keeping the ball. You know what I mean? Kobbie is a highly technical player. He can break the lines through his dribbling and his passing. So I ask you again, playing where he's playing, what do you want Kobbie to go and do? This is what I need to know. Because if you think Kobbie is going to get 20 goals, he's not going to do that. That ain't his game. Playing Kobbie higher up the pitch, yeah, as a number 10, with his technical skills to get into the final third, you know, and to create opportunities for himself, he can do that. But if you think Kobbie's going to spam the ball into the box and get 25, 30 GA, that ain't his game. And again, GA can be shared around the squad. I want to see good football. So, again, to say Kobbie doesn't offer enough, I don't really know what you want him to offer, really. And to say Bruno's our best chance of silverware, where's that nonsense coming from? Why is he our best chance of silverware? Based off of what? What? Because he spams the ball into the box and gets GA? Nonsense. Guys, I'm just reading through the chat, man. Let's keep this chat positive, man. There's a lot of nonsense in the chat, man. Let's keep it positive. This is a proper footballing channel, man. And as I said, if you're not here for proper conversation, you're not forced to be here. It's that simple. Like, I want to have proper footballing conversations, innit? But I'm just reading through the chat, man, and the chat's just getting mad. And it's like, let's have a proper mature conversation. If you rate Bruno Fernandes, then again, I'm not here to sway your mind. I'm just here to give you a different point of view. You know what I mean? But it's very clear that there's Bruno fans in there, and they're not going to see anything any other way, unfortunately. So, yeah, man, it is what it is. But let's try and keep this chat. So numbers equal productivity. Productivity shows quality. What are we talking about here? No one puts up Bruno's numbers because they aren't as good as him. Simple. Again, load of nonsense, yeah? So Talik Miller, Andres Iniesta, go and tell me, yeah, what numbers Iniesta got. Please go in actual fact, yeah. I'm gonna find it out right now, yeah, because this nonsense about numbers equals productivity, yeah, makes no sense, because his numbers don't win us anything, so it's irrelevant. And again, Andres Iniesta didn't get numbers. He's a better player than Bruno by far. So again, all this productivity, numbers equals productivity, is a load of nonsense. It's a load of nonsense. A load of nonsense. Cristiano Ronaldo got 18 goals for Manchester United over 10 games when he came in. We recorded one of our lowest ever finishes with him. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You know what I mean? It's nonsense. Let me have a look, guys, quickly on Iniesta's numbers, yeah? Give me 1 second, because I'm going to dispel this myth. Any fan that thinks numbers are the be all and end all, yeah, is part of the problem, really. So let's see. Let's have a look. Right, let's have a look. So, right, guys, here we have it, yeah? Andres Iniesta completed his professional career with approximately 107 goals and 191 assists across 1,016 matches for club and country. Yeah? So he got 107 goals and 191 assists. Now, bearing in mind, yeah, it was a different system that Barca were playing. Barca were playing a 4-3-3, yeah, with Busquets, the deepest line midfielder, and then you had Xavi, Iniesta either side, yeah? So it is a bit of a different one. But he got 107 goals and 191 assists in 1,016 games. Bruno destroys that already, yeah? Are we going to start saying that Bruno was a better player than Iniesta? He's not. So when people start using this whole nonsense about numbers equal productivity, no. Numbers can be replaced. You know what I mean? If Manchester United were winning trophy after trophy, Champions Leagues, and you want to start bigging up Bruno's numbers to back the point, I'll be like, you know what? I hear it. His numbers mean nothing. They mean nothing. And I've watched his performances. I've watched every game Bruno's played more or less for Manchester United. And I'll be honest with you, I can probably count on one hand the top performances that he's put in. So again, to keep mentioning numbers makes no sense. It's nonsense. Gav talks shit because his name is Gav Bollocks, mate. Mate, you're still watching me, so yeah. Listen, when it comes to this football talk, man, it's different, man. You know what I mean? If you want to debate me, then it's cool, man. You know, but it's easy, you know what I mean, hiding behind a profile picture. You know what I mean? I'm on camera and I'll stick with what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, when it comes to this football talk, man, it's only for certain people because the level's too high here. You know what I mean? And as I said, like, you might not like what I'm saying about Bruno. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Unfortunately for you, man. But big up for watching anyway. I remember Zirkzee missed a sitter against Everton. It was a free header from like 3 yards out. I think it's time for United to supersede and bring in a new striker. Yeah, but again, did you see when Zirkzee scored the goal against Palace? You see that finish? Again, we can all do the whole when he missed a sitter against Everton. But why are we not talking about the goal we scored against Crystal Palace? Because again, people are just more interested in pushing out narratives. That's all it is. Like, what you need to realize is that Zirkzee is a top footballer, and that's it. The game's called football. That's it. And again, Bruno is the best 10 in the league by a mile, yeah? And I know exactly where this is coming from, yeah? And this is why this is a lie, yeah? And I'll mention it again, yeah? When people say that Bruno Fernandes is the best 10 in the league by a mile, it's actually a lie, guys. It's a lie. Or look at it this way, yeah? Go and have a look at the amount of teams that predominantly play with a number 10 in the Premier League. Yeah? I'll tell you right now how many teams. Predominantly, there's 4 other teams than Man United that play with a number 10. Fulham, Nottingham Forest, Chelsea, and Everton. Bruno Fernandes is competing against Morgan Gibbs-White, Kenan Dewsbury-Hall, Cole Palmer, who's better than him anyway, and Emil Smith-Rowe. They're the only 4 players in the Premier League that predominantly play with a number 10. Go and check it yourself. So when people say that Bruno is the best 10 in the league, yeah, he's competing really against nobody. Well, not nobody. He's competing against 4 players in the league. Not to mention, Cole Palmer is probably best from the right-hand side anyway. And Cole Palmer, for me, is potentially better than Bruno. Yeah? And if you want to say he's better than Smith-Rowe, Dewsbury Hall, Gibbs-White, then it's like, well, look who he's competing against. The level's not high in regards to that aspect. Even if you want to say, yeah, Bruno's the best 10 in Europe, go and have a look at how many teams predominantly play with a number 10. Musiala's been out injured. Leonard Cole's a kid. Yeah. And then you've got, what's his name? I mean, Jude Benham's not a 10 anyway, but he's a number 8. But if you want to include his name, I don't know why. But go and have a look. Because the reality is not many teams are playing with a traditional number 10. Because that position there has been ousted from the game. Sorry, the other guy was Fermin Lopez, yeah, who's a youngster. So again, when people are saying that he's the best 10 in the league by a mile, it's categorically a lie. It's a lie. It's just fans pushing the narrative. Because if you want to go and do your homework and check these things out, you'll realize that not many teams play with number 10. So it's a complete lie. And I actually know where that's coming from. It's coming from big channels out there that are lying to try and push a narrative. Because just doing your homework, you would realize that not many teams play with a 10. It's not. Many teams play with a 3 in midfield, not with a number 10. So there you have it. 100%. World-class PR teams. That's what it is. Bruno Fernandes is one of them. Jude Bellingham's another one. Bukayo Saka's another one. Those 3 in particular have PR to the max. Declan Rice. These guys have got massive PR. And if you think these things are not happening in the game, then think again. There you go. Baggio, Totti, Bergkamp. They're real number 10s. Del Piero, Riquelme, Pablo Aimar. You know what I mean? So again, the level of number 10s that we've seen, yeah? I mean, and you want to try and tell me that Bruno Fernandes is there? It's embarrassing. You guys are killing me. Bruno is easily a 300-week player. Boy, if you think Bruno's a 300 grand a week player, man, then yeah, well, just sums up what football's become now. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I wasn't gonna bring this up. Yeah, I wasn't gonna bring this up, Fitch. Yeah, but exactly. Yeah, people that think Bruno's a 10. Yeah, he's not even a 10. That's the funny thing. Yeah, he's got number 8 tattooed on his arm. You see what I mean? Which just tells you everything. He wears number 8 for club and country because he's a number 8, guys. He actually started off his career as a right back, if you know. So fans that think he's a number 10, yeah, just tells you, it just shows you, man, that the knowledge there is just, it's just off, man. It's off. Right. Again, Mbuemo is effective, creative, and offers attributes that make him a top Premier League winger, quality player, yeah? Now, again, this is the level of understanding here is just not here, yeah? Because Mbuemo's not a winger. He's a wide forward. I don't think people understand what wingers are. You get wingers, wide forwards, number 10s playing from out wide. I'll give you the comparison, yeah? Mbuemo and Mo Salah are wide forwards because their first thought is to get goals from out wide. Jeremy Doku is a winger. Why? Because he takes on his defender and is about putting crosses into the box. Yeah? Jack Grealish is a number 10 playing from out wide because he's a creator first. So again, just understanding that will let you know that to say that Mbuemo is creative, which he's not, yeah, he might be effective in the sense of, you know, getting goals, but to say he's a winger, that just shows that you're not understanding even what Mbuemo is. And again, there's a lot of this going around that players try to pit a lot of players all together. Mbuemo's not a winger. He's not. If you understand that there's different profiles for different players in the game, you don't make these kind of observations because he's not a winger. He's not. It's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Right, guys, I'm going to go through the rest of your comments, and then we're going to get on to wrap it up with Kobbie, with Patrick Dorgu. I don't get Madrid fans are surprised about Vitinha rejecting Madrid when day in, day out, they trash Mbappe, who left everything for them. I mean, that's a new one to me, man. I've not heard no Vitinha going to Real Madrid. And again, it's not going to happen anyway. You know what I mean? Unless it's a free transfer. Yeah, I've not seen that one. Not seen that one, I'll be honest. You don't want to compare Mainoo to retired players, but you will Bruno. Oh, man. Bro, who do you want to compare him to? Scholes? Is he better than Scholes? No. You know, like, what are you talking about, man? Like, do you know what? Yeah, sometimes, yeah, some people just can't be helped, man. Unfortunately, you know what I mean. It's just some people just want to chat for the sake of it. You know what I mean? Some people want to chat for the sake of it. I don't compare Mainoo to retired players, but again, if you understand what I'm trying to say here, yeah, people put forward Bruno's numbers, and I'm giving you the comparison that one of the best players to play the game in Iniesta never got numbers. What's that got to do with Kobbie Mainoo? You know what I mean? It's just, yeah, man. Anyway, let's move it on, man, because some people just don't understand. Oh, man. What do you guys think of Paul Scholes' criticism? What I would say about the Paul Scholes criticism is nonsense, really. And this is why, yeah, you've got the likes of Paul Scholes and Roy Keane, yeah. These guys were top players for United in their day, yeah. But as pundits, yeah, they're some of the worst. You know what I mean? And it's what I'm trying to say to you, man. Like a lot of these pundits, don't listen to them because they're either scripted, yeah, or they ain't got a clue what they're talking about. Because for the likes of Scholes and Roy Keane to get onto Carrick, yeah, doesn't make sense because these were the same guys, yeah, that were saying it was the players' fault under Amorim, and then all of a sudden it's now Carrick's fault. Like, take whatever they say with a pinch of salt, man, because these guys, they don't know what they're talking about, unfortunately. You know what I mean? It is what it is, isn't it? Gav is getting mad because he got called out. Carrick Ball, man, if you want to come on the stream and debate, man, then just let me know, man. I'll send you the link right now. You know what I mean? Because it's easy to hide behind a keyboard, man. Carrick Ball, if you're still in the chat, man, let me know and I'll send you the link and we can debate it out on camera and let's see what you're really saying. Let's see what you're really saying. Let's see if Carrick Ball's still in. Carrick Ball, I'm going to give you the link here. Get you to jump on. Right, guys, I'm just going to skip out a few of the chats quickly. I want to see if Carrick Ball is still in it. I want to see if Carrick Ball is still here. I'm going to send him the link to come on and explain his case. I will get back to some of your chat. Let's see. All right, Carrick Ball, you still here? Yeah, I want to give you the link. Just message in the chat to let me know you're still here. And I'm going to send you the link. Let's see if you can put your money where your mouth is. Oh, you got timed out. Fitz, try and tie him back in, man. I want to get him on there. Let him answer for his crimes, because it's all well and good, man, hiding behind a keyboard, you know what I mean, and typing away. But let's see people when they have to come on camera and explain their case, because I can debate anyone when it comes to football. He doesn't show his face. I know. It's like for a lot of them, though, you know. Carrick Ball, if you're still there, or Fitz, if you can untime him, if you can do that, man. Let me get him on there. Let him come on there and have his say, because obviously he's itching to try and tell me about Bruno Fernandes, and yeah. Let me know, yeah, when he's back available, and I want him to come on there. I'm gonna it's expired, yeah. Carrick Ball, are you still in the chat? Let us know if you're still in the chat, man. I'm gonna send you the link. Let's see if he can come on. My go MUN, are you still in there? Do you want to jump on instead if Carrick Ball don't want to come on? Bro, listen, I don't care if they're pro Bruno with an opinion. I don't mind. It's just, but a lot of people don't want to debate stuff out. They just want to just type stuff, you know what I mean, behind a keyboard. And then when it comes to showing their face on camera, these guys run and hide. So as I said, the offer is there. My go MUN or Carrick Ball. The invitation is there for you guys to come on screen and debate it out in front of everyone. Let's do this. Let's do this. Come on, man. Let's do this. Come on. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to answer. And then if not, I'll go back onto some of the chat before we wrap it up. Bro, listen, as I said, man, I'm here for discussion, man. You know, because it's all well and good chatting in the chat, and then when it comes to showing your face, you run scared, man. It's anyone can do that. Anyone can just type away in it. But when you've got to stand on business, you know, and display your point, it ain't for everyone. So as I said, the option's there, man, for Carrick Ball. I mean, the fact that he's calling himself Carrick Ball in the first place is mad. You know what I mean? Like, he's got a fascination with Bruno, but he's calling himself Carrick Ball FC. Calling himself Carrick Ball FC, coming out chatting nonsense. It don't make sense to me, but let's see if he jumps on, man. Carrick Ball, you there? All right, cool. You don't want to come on. It's not for everyone anyway, but I understand. Right, guys, I'm going to go through a few more of your comments, and then we're going to chat about Patrick Dorgu, and then we're going to wrap it. So let me just see some of the comments. And guys, big up yourselves for coming through. If you're enjoying the content, you know, it's been a bit heated today. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you sub to the channel, and make sure you share the channel on your platforms as well. Let's see. Never seen a man cuss someone for doing their job well like this. Bruno's job is to create and take risks. He creates more than any other player, which makes him a top class. That's his evidence. Yeah. Listen, Talik Miller, man. Big up for your comments, man. Listen, if you want to rate Bruno Fernandes and if you think he's top class because of stats and you think his job is to create and take risks, again, if that's your opinion, that's your opinion. But I would just say, yeah, to me, that's concerning. That's concerning if you actually think that. You know what I mean? That's what I'm going to say. Because we're not going to get nowhere on this. It's a waste of my time. You know, if you think Bruno's top class because of numbers and stats, then I've already given you the evidence with Andres Iniesta. You know what I mean? Which you don't want to get back onto. So if that's your decision, that's your decision, man. I can't help you. You know what I mean? Right, guys, I'm just going through some of the comments, man. Big up to Verbic. Big up, man, for coming on. Oh, okay. Okay, makes sense then. Carrick Ball, I actually know who you are now. Okay, I actually know who you are. I actually know who you are, Carrick Ball, if you're still in the chat. I just clocked it. I actually know who you are. Okay, that's interesting. Why is bro comparing Iniesta to Bruno? Their roles are different. A striker is there to score. A 10 is there to create. A centre mid like Iniesta proper conducts play. Irrelevant. Again, Talik Miller, you're just not understanding, yeah? You're trying to come in there and be clever, yeah? But again, no one's comparing Iniesta and Bruno. To mention Bruno and Iniesta is a disgrace in the first place because Bruno's nowhere near the level. The point I'm trying to make to you, yeah? As you said, a striker is there to score. That's incorrect as well. A striker's role in football today isn't just to score. I'm not sure where you're getting that from, yeah. But a striker's role in football, yeah, is to facilitate. It's to be the link man. You know what I mean? Look at Harry Kane, for instance. Harry Kane can link the play and he scores goals. So a striker's job isn't just to score goals in this era of football. Again, if you're not understanding that, that's your problem. You know what I mean? If you're going back to the days of Alan Shearer and guys like that, you know, the Chris Suttons, you know what I mean? The I don't know, the Niall Quinns and them kind of players, yeah. Yeah, maybe their role was just to score, not in today's football. You need to understand that, yeah. The number 10 is there to create. Yes, again, yeah. The number 10s that play out from wide or central, they're creators first, which is why when someone mentioned in the chat, yeah, I think it was yourself that said Mbuemo's a winger. The very fact that you're saying Mbuemo's a winger, it just shows that you're not understanding what type of player Mbuemo is because he's not a winger. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then centre mids like Iniesta and Pogba. Yes, you're correct. Yeah. The reason I mentioned Bruno with Iniesta is because I'm mentioning the goal side of it. Because even if Iniesta was playing predominantly as a number 10, he wouldn't get the amount of goals or assists that Bruno got. That is my points. It's not about numbers. If you can't understand that, then that's your problem, man. Let's move on anyway. Let's move on. Right, guys, bear me for 1 minute. Bear me 1 minute, yeah? 1 minute. Right, let's see. Some people also think Bruno is better than Ozil. Yeah, exactly. And that's my point. Yeah. If you look at Ozil, the way he used to create chances for others, you know, right weight of pass, you know what I mean? Pure creator, pure number 10. But again, people will say you that Bruno's better than Ozil because of numbers. Again, this is the problem. It's the problem, isn't it? But people are not going to understand that, unfortunately. Big up to Michael Bracewell, says Bruno and Bellingham aren't even near someone like Isco or Wilshere. Facts. Facts. Can't even disagree with that. I mean, Isco was an absolute magician. He didn't get numbers like Bruno. You know what I mean? Again, Bruno and Bellingham are not even 10s. Like, the fact that people think they're 10s just shows you the problem in football, really. You know? Wilshere, another top player. Big up to Exedra. Big up, my guy. Big up yourself. Boy, listen, it's been a good stream, man. I mean, the chat's been going mad, but listen, I did invite, you know, some of these guys to come on stream and you know, put their face on there, but not for everyone, unfortunately, you know. The only reason Madrid isn't winning is because they went from playmakers like Cruz to Bellingham. That's why they needed an 8 or deep line playmaker. Big up to Michael. See, again, someone that understands, yeah? The fact that there's no Tony Cruz, yeah, and they've got Jude Bellingham in there. I mean, only real football fans that understand the game, yeah, would realize that it's a problem. But then people will say, oh, but they won the Champions League. Yeah, that's what they're going to say. They won the Champions League with Bellingham in the team. That's what they're gonna say, man. But listen, the facts are, yeah, the facts are, these players like Bellingham and Bruno Fernandes, these guys are just not as good as what the majority make them out to be. It's that simple, man. You know what I mean? It's just that simple. Rate these midfielders based on talent. Pogba will. You know what? You know what? Yeah. Big up to Michael. Big up to Michael. You know what? Yeah. This is a player for some reason, or I forget. Yeah. You see Thiago Alcantara. Yeah. You see Thiago Alcantara. Now, before Tariq Miller starts saying, "Oh, Thiago was a central midfielder," which he was. Yeah. Again, Thiago Alcantara. Yeah. Was one of the most talented players of his generation, if not like him and Pogba, the two most talented players of their generation. Yeah, these guys got nowhere near the numbers of Bruno Fernandes. And again, before Tariq Miller comes in and starts saying, "Oh, but these guys are central midfielders," yes, and obviously Bruno played in the 10. But again, these guys didn't get numbers, and this is how I rate players. Football comes first, numbers come second. Whenever you talk to people about Bruno Fernandes, it's numbers first, the footballer second. That is the problem. Rating these three players now on ability is difficult. Yeah, I think it's easy to say, and this is no disrespect to Jack Wilshere, he's third in that list. Between Pogba and Thiago, toss of a coin. Toss of a coin. I would say, yeah, in terms of talent, Thiago is one of the most talented players I've ever seen play. He was that good. And again, he was being talked about Barcelona from young. From young. You know, going back to the Football Manager days when I used to be Man United, you know, trying to get Thiago out of Barcelona was a headache. They just weren't letting him go. You know what I mean? So, listen, for me, Pogba, Thiago, and Wilshere in that order, I would say. But Thiago could easily be top. He was that good. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Whenever I talk about players like this, yeah, I can't hear Bruno Fernandes and Jude Bellingham. Like, it's embarrassing. Fitz, boy, calm down, man. Don't worry. Don't let these guys get to you, man. Don't let them get to you because, as I say, people just want to derail, innit? If you want to come on and have a chat, I'll carry. Well, you're still there, yeah? Oh, yeah, no. So you don't want to. All right. So carrot ball, you don't fancy it, yeah? Cool. I understand, man. Tariq Miller, man, just not getting it. Just not getting it. It's cool, man. When will Dorgu come back? Do you know what? That brings us on nicely to Patrick Dorgu. So obviously Dorgu's back in training now, you know, and again, Dorgu's been a miss, man, for Man United. You know, for me, I still want to see Dorgu play left back next season, but there's no doubt in that he has shown that he's got something playing as a left winger. You know what I mean? So, I mean, the reason why I don't want to see him play as a winger, I think having him as an option is good, but I think Dorgu's long-term future for me has to be at left back. Has to be. You know, I've always said this, you know, that I look at Patrick Dorgu as our Alphonso Davies in terms of his physicality and his pace, you know, because I want to see the fullbacks bombing around the outside, having the inverted players higher up the pitch and creating that extra option. So that's why I'm saying Dorgu for me. I'm still going to say Dorgu is a overlapping fullback, you know, and I'm hoping whether it's Carrick or a new manager, they kind of stick with that, because I definitely do think that Dorgu as an overlapping fullback, man, is what needs to be happening going forwards. You know what I mean? But yeah, what I would say, man, Dorgu being back in training, I think our next game's Aston Villa. You know, could he be back for that game in the squad? Hopefully, because he definitely does give us something. And again, Malacia wouldn't have even came on the pitch if it wasn't for Dorgu. And again, that's nothing against Malacia, because Malacia, you know what I mean? Whether is he going to be here next season, I'm not sure. It's looking unlikely. But that's why I'm not going to get onto Malacia, because he hasn't even played no football, you know. And that's why when United conceded the second goal, you know, to get onto Malacia, who hasn't played, is harsh, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, no, Dorgu's back in training, and 100%, man, he's going to give us something that we've missed in the last few games. But as I said, his long-term future for me would be as a fullback. Big up to Craven Cottage. Big up. Fulham in the house. Big up yourself. Do you think Fulham can push and eventually qualify for Europe? I do. I mean, where are Fulham now? Let me check where Fulham are now. Let's have a quick check. Where are Fulham in the league? So Fulham are 10th. So they are 8 points off of Chelsea in 5th. I mean, it's going to be difficult, but I mean, to be fair, Fulham, I mean, them getting beat by West Ham was poor. But to be honest with you, Fulham under Marco Silva, man, to be fair, are a good team. So it's one of them things where I think it's going to be difficult for them to get into Europe, because but a lot of the teams are on similar points. You know, you got them and Bournemouth on 40 points, and Sunderland in 11th. Everton are on 43, Brentford 44, Liverpool 48, Chelsea 48, Villa 51, United 51. So they have a chance, but that game against West Ham, you know, they should have at least picked up 3. They should have picked up 3 points there, innit? So it's going to be difficult for them. But they're in with a chance, put it that way. That's what I would say. Yeah, they're in with a chance. Big up Fitz. You know what, yeah? In actual fact, yeah, when you like, I was thinking to myself who Carrick Ball is, yeah? I know who Carrick Ball is now. You know what I mean? And Carrick Ball, you know what I'm gonna do, Carrick Ball, as well, yeah? I'm actually gonna call you out as well, because you've come in the chat, yeah, and you've been disrespectful. Yeah. You're the same person that asked me to do a stream with you. Yeah. And I told you some encouraging things, which I hoped that you would have, you know, taken away and focused on. But the fact that you've come on there disrespecting, yeah, and you're trying to call me out, as you said, yeah, I'm gonna expose you. I didn't want to have to do that, yeah. But the thing is, I gave you some advice on what you need to be doing, yeah. And now you've come on there, whether you're bitter or not, I'm not too sure. But the thing is, I gave you some advice, and you've come on there disrespecting my mods, disrespecting, well, not disrespecting myself, but you're trying to call me out, yeah. So again, I just worked out who you was, because you've changed your name. So your name before was Football Reactions FC. I'm pretty sure. If I've got it wrong, I've got it wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the same one. The role a striker is in the name, to strike the ball in the net. Of course, they can help the team like Kane, but their primary job is to score, which is why Haaland, Mbappe, and Kane are the best. Simple. Again, load of nonsense, Talik. Yeah, load of nonsense. I'll tell you why it's a load of nonsense. Yeah, Kobbie Mainoo was a 10. Yeah, he played as part of the front three with Salah and with Mane. Kobbie Mainoo was playing the role of a central striker, but the role was actually called a false 9. Why is that? Because the goals were coming from out wide. So again, you can try and be clever all you want, yeah, but it's not going to work with me because I'm too versed in this stuff. The role of a striker has changed in today's football. If you think a striker's game is just to put the ball in the back of the net, yeah, then I'm sorry, you're out of touch with football right now. We're not playing in the 90s. So you can try and be clever all you want, yeah, but not with me, man. I'm too switched on for things like this. The role of a striker is to facilitate the attack. They have to do a bit of everything. Because if you actually notice Tariq Miller, yeah, then when you're playing as a lone striker, yeah, you're kind of doing two jobs. Because back in the 4-4-2 era, you had a target man striker and you had a striker that played on the shoulder. The fact you're playing with one striker, their sole focus isn't just to score goals. This is why there's things called wide forwards, because they're more or less wide strikers. They get goals from out wide. So when you're mentioning Haaland, Mbappe, and Kane, yeah, I'll tell you why this is stupid mentioning them, and it's dumb, yeah. Erling Haaland is tasked with getting goals. Why? Because he's playing in a team full of creators, yeah. Mbappe is actually a left winger, yeah, that is actually playing through the middle, and again, he gets goals because of the pace, and he's playing through the middle. Harry Kane is an all-round striker. He can link the play the target man, and get goals. So you're using players, yeah. One where I agree, he's got an all-round game. The other hasn't got an all-round game and gets numbers, and the other one's actually a left winger by trade. So again, you're using examples of strikers which doesn't really back up your point. You know what I mean? You can try and be clever all you want, man, but the reality is the main role of a striker isn't just to score goals. I'm not sure where you're getting that from, yeah, but that isn't in today's game, unfortunately for yourself. So again, man, try and understand what we're saying there. That isn't the sole reason for a striker, not in today's game. It's not happening today. You know what I mean? So if you don't understand that, man, that's up to you. Opinions on Maguire, 15 months suspended prison sentence. Yeah, I think I spoke about it the other day. I ain't really got no opinion on it. You know what I mean? I weren't there. Obviously, you can hear what's happened, but yeah, it is what it is, man. I'll let the authorities deal with that. Nothing to do with me, man. As I said, Maguire for me, based on football, he needs to be he needs to stay for next season for me. Big up to Babs One Diva. Big up yourself for the super sticker. Big up. I believe we can qualify for Europe in the coming seasons because we have been an established Premier League side for many seasons. I hear it, man, but the competition is tough, you know, for Fulham. But Fulham have got some good players, man. Harry Wilson's in the form of his life. Marco Silva's a decent manager. You know, you got players like Raul Jimenez who can score goals. I like Smith Rowe as well. Iwobi's been good. Sander Berg's the top is a very good player. Yeah, you guys, I mean, you got a solid defense. Joachim Anderson, Calvin Bassey. Yeah, listen, you guys have got a good team, man. A good team. I think Europe, though, is going to be difficult because of the other teams you're going to have to try and topple, man. But it's not out of the question, man. So, in your words, a striker's main role isn't to score goals. No, it's not, mate. It's not. It's not. Not in today's football. If you understand that, then you wouldn't come out with that. Maybe in the 90s, their role was just to score goals. A striker in this era of football, their sole reason isn't to score goals. This is 2026, man. If you don't get that, then I'm not sure where you've been, man. I'm not sure where you've been. And again, you're probably getting that from other people, but you need to understand what kind of era of football we're in. Their sole reason isn't to score goals. Why do you think we have wide strikers? Why do you think there's systems in play which have wide strikers? Just ask yourself that question. Do you know what I mean? Do you really think here, if Liverpool, when they had Mane and Salah, do you think that those two would have scored the amount of goals with an actual striker in place? Do you really think that? Ask yourself that question. It would never happen, because you can't just have a goal-getting striker and two wide players that get goals as well. The goals are coming from out wide, which means your central player needs to be a link man, a facilitator for the wide strikers. That's just common sense. So if you think a striker's main job in football today is just to score goals, then again, you're out of touch, man, with football right now, man. You ain't getting it, man. Ain't getting it. So what do Kane, Mbappe, Haaland have in common? Goals, bro. You backed up my point. Kane, Mbappe, and Haaland all have different roles, but what do they have in common, Gav? They score bags of goals. Right. So let me break this down for you again, yeah? And I explain it one more time, yeah? Because this is just annoying because you're not getting it, yeah? Harry Kane has an all-round game. His bonus is that he does score goals, yeah? That's the first thing. Erling Haaland scores goals because he's the main goal getter in a team full of creators. Yeah? Mbappe is a left winger by trade, but is playing for one of the biggest teams in the world, yeah, as a central striker. Yeah? He hasn't got an all-round game like Harry Kane. Yes? Yes, they all score goals, yeah, but the role of a striker isn't just to score goals. If you don't understand that, then I'm sorry, man. Like, we're just wasting time here. No one's not saying that strikers don't have to score goals. No one's saying that. But you're saying that these guys, their main role is to score goals. And it isn't. It isn't. Like, if you don't understand that, then I'm sorry, man. It's wasted time. It's wasted time. A striker's role in football today isn't solely to score goals. It's not. Let's move on, man, because you're not getting it. Yeah, big up Verbit, man. Yeah, listen, 7 points. Let's see what happens, man. You guys are in the driving seat. Happy? If Haaland, Kane, and Mbappe wasn't clinical, City, Bayern, and Madrid wouldn't have signed them. Guys, someone in the chat help me out. That can explain to Talik Miller. Someone explain to him, because this is just It doesn't make sense what he's saying. Doesn't make sense what he's saying. Someone explain. Someone, if guys, someone please explain to him about the role of a striker. If that was the case, everyone would play false nine. No, no. You can't judge every striker the same. You can't judge every striker the same. In this era of football, there ain't too many top strikers as it is anyway. Yeah? But when you're saying that Joshua Zirkzee has only got 2 goals in 18 games, you're not factoring that he has he even had 5 or 10 Premier League starts. Not to mention, he isn't a player you just judge on numbers. The fact that you're going back to Harry Kane, Mbappe, and Haaland, name me other strikers that regularly score goals like those 3. Because you're mentioning 3 of who everyone would say are the best strikers in the game right now. Name me many other strikers that are all scoring goals consistently. Like the whole conversation, you're not making sense, man. You're not making sense. You know what I mean? Joshua Zirkzee is a false 9. If you think Joshua Zirkzee is going to get 25 to 30 league goals, he's not going to do that. That ain't his game. The role of a striker isn't purely, every striker. You can't judge every striker the same. I'm not sure what you're not understanding there. If there's anyone in the chat that can just intervene and let Talik Miller know, man, to save my time, because we're going around in circles, man. We're going around in circles. Guys, if you got any more questions or comments, let me know before we wrap it up. It's been a sick stream. It's been a headache, I ain't gonna lie. But big up yourselves. Make sure, guys, you are smashing the like button. Make sure you are subbing to the channel, and make sure you are sharing the channel as well. Guys, I'm something like 48 off of 2K subs as well. So, yeah, if you haven't subbed, make sure you do. Who do I support? Manchester United. And I also like Barcelona as well. So big up to Exedra. So you make a system to sort the players you have. So that's not a great argument. Also, if you want an example of what Gav's saying, think Eric Cantona. There you go. There you go. Eric Cantona was playing as Man United's main striker with Andy Cole in a 4-4-2 era, yeah? Eric Cantona was never going to hit 30 to 35 league goals like Erling Haaland, Harry Kane, because that wasn't the role. Like, again, the fact that we're having to explain these things doesn't make sense to me, really, in the first place. You know what I mean? Doesn't really make sense. Big up to football and stuff. Says I support Brighton. Big up, man. Big up. They let us down though, man. Not getting the point against Arsenal. So tell your boys, man, to fix up. I like Zirkzee's all-round game. Is probably better than Sesko's, but Sesko starts. Why? Because he's more of a goal threat and clinical finisher. It's clear. Right. So let's go on to this point, yeah? Zirkzee's all-round game is better than Sesko, yeah? But why does Sesko start, yeah? Sesko started, whether it was pressure from the fans or from whoever, yeah, to start Sesko because he got off the bench and scored a couple of goals. What happened, yeah? What happened to Talik Miller when Zirkzee started against Newcastle? Tell me what happened. Did Sesko score? I'll wait for you to answer. Did Sesko score? Did Sesko score against Newcastle? Let us know. Talik, I'm waiting. Did Sesko score against Newcastle? Because this point is dumb. This point is done. Dumb. Big up Carrot Ball says no. Okay. So Sesko didn't score against Newcastle, yeah? Why didn't Sesko score against Newcastle? Yeah? Because all you're going to get is fans saying he didn't get no service. Yeah? And by all accounts, Sesko didn't play well. And do you know why that is? Because you need to have an all-round game. That is my point. The role of a striker is to have an all-round game and to get goals. This is why I said Harry Kane. Harry Kane does both sides of the coin. Erling Haaland doesn't. He's got better in his all-round game, but Erling Haaland's playing in a team full of creators. So he's the main goal scorer. Mbappe is playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world in Real Madrid. Yeah. And this marks out nicely what I'm talking about with Jude Bellingham. Everyone was saying, look at the amount of goals Bellingham scored for Real Madrid. Do you know why that is? Because he was playing as the most advanced midfielder come false nine, because they never had a striker, because they played with split strikers. It's the system. All of a sudden, Bellingham gets pushed back into midfield, and he's got a return of something like 5 goals. That is the point. Yeah? So again, why did Sesko get the goals that he got against the teams when he was come off the bench? He's playing against tired legs. He's very athletic. Yeah? He's got pace. So he was getting goals against tired legs. I can't remember if he started against Crystal Palace, but they were down to 10 men anyway. Yeah? When he starts against Newcastle, and again, it's nothing on Benjamin Sesko. Nothing on Benjamin Sesko, yeah? But why is it that Sesko didn't score against Newcastle? And why has he had a poor game? Because it's not all about just goal scoring. His general play wasn't there anyway. He couldn't get into the game. That is the point. Let's move on anyway. Big up, man. So why do managers generally go for clinical strikers more than false nines like Firmino, Zirkzee? Tell me what managers do that. Why did Pep Guardiola, one of the best managers ever in the game, play Cesc Fabregas as a false nine? Why did he do that? Why did he play Messi as a false nine? Answer the questions. Come on. Tell me what managers play clinical strikers, because you'll find out, yeah, there ain't too many clinical strikers in football anyway, as it is. You've just mentioned 3, and you're mentioning 3 that are amongst 3 of the best in the world right now. So where are we going with this? Again, this is bullshit. This ain't true. This ain't true. This ain't true. It's just nonsense. We got dominated in midfield. That's why Sesko didn't score. Okay, so because we got dominated in midfield, Sesko didn't score. Does that make sense? How about Sesko gets involved in the general play? And again, it's not on Sesko, but why didn't Sesko get involved in the general play? Why is that? Why is it that he can score goals off the bench, but when he's starting, he's not really getting involved in the general play? Why is that? Because you can't just look at the midfield. Or if you don't look at the midfield, let's go on to Bruno Fernandes. You see what I mean? Yep, Harry Kane, Haaland, Guirassy. Yep. But again, these guys are playing around creators. If you don't get that, yeah, then I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Manchester United's front line, yeah, Bruno Fernandes isn't a creator like that. He spams balls into the box. Mbuemo wants to get goals. Cunha's a maverick. And if that's part of your front 4, you know what I mean? You need to have someone that can facilitate, not necessarily scoring goals. So Pep played mainly Lewandowski, Suarez. Right. Now, again, yeah, Talik Miller, you've embarrassed yourself, yeah? I'll tell you why you've embarrassed yourself, yeah? Because if you claim, yeah, that these coaches pick strikers, yeah? You've mentioned Lewandowski. Pep never had Luis Suarez. Luis Enrique had Luis Suarez. So you're just lying. You're making stuff up. You're making stuff up. Yeah? You're making stuff up. Pep had Lewandowski at Bayern Munich. He never had Luis Suarez. So you're just making names up now. Pep played Messi and he played Cesc Fabregas as false nines. Yeah? Tariq, are you gonna admit you got it wrong? Yeah, you tried telling us that Suarez, that Pep had Suarez, or are you just gonna add on names? The only two strikers, yeah, that Pep has played in his career is Lewandowski and Erling Haaland. Yeah, if you want to go back to the older days of Alvaro Negredo, Edin Dzeko, yeah, if you want to go back there. But in terms of serial goal scorers, Lewandowski and Lewandowski, yeah, and Haaland. He predominantly played Messi and Fabregas in their natural positions. Again, go and have a look at when Pep had Messi. Messi's got the most goals in a calendar year of 91. Go and have a look at where Messi played. He played as a false nine. Why? Because he had Pedro one side and David Villa on the left. Again, do your research before coming on there and talking. Do your research. He didn't have Luis Suarez, and you're not answering the question because you're trying to add on names. We can all do that, you know. We can all do that. Messi is a 10, but go and have a look where he played for Barca as a false nine. He played as a false nine with David Villa on the left, Pedro on the right. Go and have a look. This football game I don't miss, I'm telling you. I don't just come in there and chat for the sake of it. No, I ain't got to do the research. You do your research because you seem to think that you know, yeah? You seem to think that you know, and you just told me that Pep had Suarez. You made it up. Pep never had Suarez. Luis Enrique had Suarez. Because if you remember, it was MSN. Messi, Neymar, and Suarez. So again, you're just making it up. Welbeck is a target man. I wouldn't say Welbeck's a target man. You know what I mean? Welbeck's more of a, he can do a bit of everything. He can hold it up. He can run the channels. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't say he's a predominantly a target man. I wouldn't say that. Talik, man, we're waiting. Come on, we're waiting. We're waiting. Check out who had Luis Suarez. Yeah. Check him out for us. Check it out for us. And check out where Messi was playing under Pep. You're not getting it, man. You just don't get it. You just don't get it, man. Like, he just doesn't get it. Guys, listen, we're going to wrap it up, man, because we're going around in circles, man. But listen, big up to everyone coming through each and every time. Big up to all the mods. Mad stream today. Big up to all the mods. Big up to all the newcomers as well. Guys, make sure... no, listen. Let's be respectful in there, man. It's not about Talik going away, man. It's about having conversation. And obviously, you know, he's not going to do the research. He told me Luis Suarez was under Pep and he wasn't. And now he's backtracking and saying, let's see how many times Pep played with a 9. Again, yeah, guys, make sure you're subbing. Obviously, Gav goes in. You guys know that already anyway. If you're new in here, make sure you sub. Make sure you smash the like button, guys, as well. And make sure you you share the channel on all your platforms on on all your social media platforms. And as I said, I should be back, guys, maybe later tonight. I'm not too sure, but keep an eye on the notification to see when I go live. But definitely back tomorrow. And tomorrow's stream is going to be interesting. Obviously, it's FA Cup weekend, but I'm going to do a stream, guys, based on, you know, one of the mods, Arsenal fan, was saying that, you know, Arsenal's first team can beat any B team. So we're going to have a discussion on that tomorrow. So yeah, I'll be live sort of same time tomorrow at 12:30. So yeah, make sure you come through as well and get involved, man. Do I do FPL? I don't do fantasy Premier League, to be fair. I don't really have time for that, man. I'm not really a fan of all this fantasy Premier League nonsense, if I'm honest. I'm not really a fan of it, man. I've never actually done it. But as I said, yeah. Oh, you're not football reactions. Listen, the chat has been heated, man, for some apparent reason. But listen, when you come onto the channel, man, if you're gonna get disrespectful to one of my mods, you know, you will get timed out. But if you're coming out to talk pure football, then that's what we're here for. You know what I mean? But if you're being disrespectful, you're not forced to be here. You know what I mean? I want to have proper footballing conversations with people. You know, whether you agree with me or not, it's you know, I'm here for the conversation. But if you're just coming in here and you're just trying to disrespect, you know, and you're just coming there with something that's not relevant to the channel, as I said, there's plenty of channels out there. If you don't want to be here, then don't be here. You know what I mean? If you want to come here and interact with me and talk talk football, then that's what it's about, man. I enjoy a conversation, you know. And as I said, I don't really know what's happening in the chat. It's been mad, but let's hope, man, that it doesn't happen again, because as I said, man, there's no need for it, really. Yeah, exactly, man, exactly. But as I said, guys, big up yourselves for coming on each and every time. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you sub to the channel as well. Make sure you share the channel. Make sure your notifications are on to see when I go live. And if not later tonight, I'll catch you guys definitely tomorrow. Take it easy.